crosses they carry, and yet they do have the burden of our county and the people they represent. And so, Father, what a burdensome job at times. And so, Father, may we as a people come alongside of them, encourage them, pray for them, and Father, be a people that don't desire to be combative with them, but yet to come alongside and help aid in solutions, Father. And we'll give you the praise for the way you lead us in that. May this meeting tonight be conducted in such a way that it's evident that your presence is with us. And then, Father, again, we are so grateful being reminded of Memorial Day this month, of people who have given their lives that we might gather in a room like this and work out things in our county. And Father, we're mindful of that. And so, Father, again, thank you for all that you have done, the leaders you have given us, Father, and their desire to represent people morally and justly, and we're grateful for that. So, Father, as the meeting begins, may you have your will and your way as we submit it to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodson, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, please? Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have a couple resolutions tonight, and the first one is going to be the resolution acknowledging Family Abduction Awareness, District 5. That would be me. And my dear friend, Commissioner Goodson, said he only wished that I would be abducted. But I think he was kidding, but I'm not sure. But anyway, let me read this out and we'll get to go from there. Resolution, whereas family abduction is a devastating and traumatic experience that affects countless families across the nation, often resulting in emotional distress and long-term consequences for both the abducted child and their loved one. Whereas May 25th is National Missing Children Awareness Day, and the month provides an excellent opportunity to demonstrate support for national efforts to reduce the threat of family abductions, reunite the children who are missing with their families, and honor all those who are working by the cause. Whereas every 40 seconds, a child goes missing or is abducted in the United States, and statistically, 90% of all the missing children get taken by their parents or another family member. And whereas a family abduction occurs when a child is taken, wrongfully retained or concealed by a parent or other family member, depriving another individual of their rights of custody. Whereas the family abduction is often an act of frustration by the perpetrator, was left behind the parent, the legal system, or his her own situation in life. Whereas a family abduction has distinctive characteristics, including emotional, psychological trauma to the child and left behind family. And whereas Brevard County strives to remain vigilant and informed about the dangers that face children within our community and understand that it's critical to recognize that family abduction is a serious crime, not only a civil matter, in all 50 states. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners named Brevard County, Florida, does hereby proclaim May 25th, 2024 as Family Abduction Day and encourages communities to educate residents about the prevalence, risk, and consequences of family abduction. Do we have anybody here from the thing? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this, please? There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Feltner, and there's a second by Commissioner Pritchett. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The motion there covers. We'll just hold the plaque. Maybe somebody's caught in traffic or something of that nature. Okay, now let's move on to the next resolution. And that is a resolution acknowledging the second week in May as Lung Cancer Action Week. And this is a resolution. Is there anybody from that organization here? And who would that be? Okay, Deborah, come on up here for a second, sit in the front row if you would. Thank you so much. Whereas the American Lung Association celebrates 120 years of impact in 2024 in Brevard County, whereas about every 2 minutes a person in the United States is diagnosed with lung cancer, whereas lung cancer is a leading cause of cancer death, and whereas lung cancer screening saves lives and advocacy and increased awareness will result in more high-risk individuals getting screened, whereas public support for research funding will result in new treatments and better methods of early detection, whereas Lung Force is a national initiative led by American Lung Association to defeat lung cancer. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida hereby designate the second week of May as Lung Cancer Week. Done, ordered, and adopted this 7th day of May, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
There's a motion by Commissioner Feltner. Seconded by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed and carries. Deborah, would you like to come up and say a few words? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My name is Deborah Smith. I've lived in Brevard County over 30 years, and Commissioner Feltner lives in my neighborhood. Once again, my name is Deborah Smith, and 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 EGFR lung cancer. Complete shock to my system. I was a pretty healthy person. Didn't see that one coming, and I've never smoked a day in my life. So my husband and I do a lot of volunteer work and advocacy for American Lung Association because of that. My kind of lung cancer is treatable but not curable. So my goal with these proclamations is to get the word out about lung cancer so that it raises awareness and at some point lung cancer could be treatable and curable. Okay. Every 2 minutes and 14 seconds, someone in the United States is diagnosed with lung cancer. I had no idea it was that prominent. Lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths among men and women in the United States. 20% of them are non-smokers, just like myself. Okay. According to the American Lung Association, the survival rate used to be 5 years ago, 13%. It is now up to 22% in the last 5 years. That gives me a lot of hope, and that's important at this point. If you have lungs, you can have lung cancer. Lung cancer research has made huge, incredible strides in the last 10 years, but more is necessary. Basically, if you can't breathe, nothing else matters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. You got a picture here that we can take? Not here?
One, two, three. One, two, three. All right.
I believe this one's yours, Commissioner Feltner.
It is. We have Sharon Knoll, Cheryl Spacio, Sandra Leone, and Michelle Fitzgerald come up. And anyone else with the Waterway Warriors. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave anybody out.
I don't know, the guy in the blue shirt's got to change his shirt. Doesn't he need a yellow shirt on? Oh, man. There you go.
I was just thinking something like that. It's a privilege for me to do this resolution for you. You know, I think the world of your group. I'll say this real quick about this group. They go out and clean up trash on the side of the Pineda Causeway, and I think they're adopting 528. Is that right? Close. Okay. And their purpose is ultimately to keep that stuff out of the river. And I think it's a worthwhile cause. I went out there with them one day, kind of unplanned, and I think they're an amazing group. So I'll read your resolution and then we'll pass it, and then you'll be invited to speak. Whereas the vital need for environmental stewardship and individual accountability in safeguarding our waterways is at an all-time high, and whereas the Waterway Warriors diligently cultivate a sense of personal responsibility among citizens to protect and preserve our waterways for future generations by consistently organizing community initiatives for both trash removal and prevention. And whereas the Waterway Warriors, consisting of hundreds of volunteers led by Sharon Knoll, Cheryl Spacio, Sandra Leone, and Michelle Fitzgerald, supported by the Florida Department of Transportation, has embraced the challenge of environmental stewardship. Whereas the Waterway Warriors have successfully prevented over 50 tons of trash from entering the Indian and Banana rivers, and whereas this organization exemplifies the resolve and perseverance to envision and realize a future with minimal adverse human impact on our aquatic ecosystems as a standard for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida does hereby unanimously recognize the achievements and outstanding accomplishments of the Waterway Warriors and offers them congratulations on their significant contributions to the protection and preservation of our local waterways and sincere wishes for continued success in their endeavors. Done, ordered, and adopted in regular session this 7th day of May 2024. And with that, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Is there a second? There is a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you for all your hard work. You want to come up?
I'll just take a minute. As volunteers, we do adopt different waterways. We've gotten the Pineda under the Adopt a Highway program through FDOT. Horse Creek, we're working on O'Galley, and yes, we would love to be able to tackle the problem on 528. We're not quite there yet. However, as the Core 4, we are extremely grateful to Commissioner Feltner, and we look forward to meeting with each one of the commissioners and adopting waterways in your areas. Thank you so much, Commissioner Feltner.
All right, let's take a picture.
Thank you so much. Okay. Now we're going to go into the winners of the 2024 Florida 4-H Public Speaking Program. Now, Beth, are you here? Here you are. Okay.
Gus Kerner speak as he leads the 4-H speaking contest for the county.
Okay.
Thank you, commissioners, for this opportunity. The Florida 4-H Public Speaking Program, powered by FPL, helps students 4th through 6th grade research, write, and deliver a speech on the topic of their choice. They can participate in classroom, school, and county level competitions while practicing their research, writing, and communication skills. These two students I present you with tonight represent over 700 students in the school district that participated in the program.
Okay.
Shelby?
Who's going up? Aha. I
This is
see
Shelby.
earlier I talked to you and you didn't know why you were here. Well, I know why you're here. All right. I'm just going to tell you this. If your speech is as good as I hear it is, then you're going to have to run for county commissioner and replace me. Okay. Go
I'm
for it,
planning
Shelby.
to.
You plan to. There you go. Shelby for commissioner. Shelby for commissioner. Go ahead, Shelby.
Splash. I think I saw a mermaid. Or was it a manatee? Well, that's kind of easy to figure out. Mermaids aren't real. Or are they? Did you know that there is some sort of female sea creature in almost every culture? In Ireland, they believe in the selkie, or seal people, that look like seals in the water but shed their skin to look like humans on land. In Germany, they have the Melusine, that have either serpents or fish tails. If this is true for other cultures, is science actually correct? First, let's talk about how old the mermaid myth is. The oldest recorded mermaid tale is from Syria. It is said when the goddess Atargatis dove into a lake, she tried to take on the form of a fish. The other gods did not want her to give up her great beauty, so they had her stay half the same and the bottom half become a fish. There are thousands of stories about a mermaid-type creature and from all over the world. In Greek mythology, there's a story about Odysseus. When he was traveling home, his ship went past where the sirens lived. It is said that he wanted to hear their beautiful singing, but knew that he would jump into the sea and the sirens would drown him. He had his sailors tie him to the mast. The other sailors put cork in their ears so they would not be swayed. But is this proof that mermaids are real? I would say so. If mermaids have been in stories for this long, who's to say they've not been under the sea all this time? Or maybe they're extinct. With all the pollution in the water, it is a real possibility. Now, you may be wondering, how many sightings of mermaids are there? The answer? Nobody really knows. There have been sightings of mermaids all the way to the K Islands, to Zimbabwe, to Israel. These sightings ranging from 1943 to 2012. And that's just 3. In Italy, there are sightings of the Sirena. In Russia, they call the mermaid the Rizolka, meaning Russian mermaid. It is said to be the souls of drowned women. Savanamacha is the Indian version of the mermaid. It is said in the Cambodian and Thai versions of the Ravana that she's a mermaid princess who, instead of trying to stop Hanuman's plans to build a bridge to Lanka as originally planned, falls in love with Hanuman. When you hear all of these stories, it is impossible that all of them are just fish tales. When you hear all of these stories, it is impossible that all of them are lies. I have a theory. I believe if there are no mermaids on this planet, who's to say they couldn't be on another? Mars has samples of water that is dried up. There are many planets that scientists believe could hold life. If Mars's waters contain mermaids, I'm ready to go on a spaceship and see the remains. All in all, mermaids are real. I've given plenty of evidence that should suffice and prove my point. Ancient cultures have included mermaids in the recorded history. Now let's splash back into the water to reunite with these magical mermaids. Thank you.
All right, Shelby, I'm getting up. This is your seat. Okay, I'm done. I'll give you your first campaign contribution.
Our next speaker is Isabel. Coincidentally, both of these students are from R.L. Stevenson Elementary.
Welcome, Isabel.
Teachers, a priceless part of our everyday lives, and a good majority of the time, we take them for granted. Teachers teach us almost every basic skill and shape us as children, and yet put up with so much. I mean, think about it. Annoying kids that talk all day and disrespect them, work that isn't turned in, and endless papers to grade. Most teachers would say that they love what they do, so it's fine that they don't have the best salary compared to other professions. Most other jobs that have a 4-year degree don't have to put up with this and get paid more. But compared to other states in our country, Florida has amongst the lowest average salary for teachers and is far from having a low cost of living. The average teacher's salary in Florida is between $32,000 to $51,000 per year, depending on the county. Another way to look at this is a teacher makes the same amount of money per hour as someone who works at a fast food restaurant. Yep, that's right. The average Florida teacher makes $15.43 per hour. This is truly unfair as teachers do so much to shape our society and yet are paid as much as someone who could work at your local McDonald's. A major impact of teacher salaries being so low is the teacher shortage. Last year in Florida, 18,000 teachers decided to leave their job. This is about 10% of all teachers in Florida. Many teachers realize that with the same 4-year degrees, they can make twice as much money. As a response, Florida increased starting teacher salaries, but not those of teachers who have experience. Now, many experienced teachers are living at record rates because of this unfair treatment and pay. Compared to other areas in the US and to other countries, Florida teachers make significantly less. In states such as New York, which is the highest paying, the average pay per year of a teacher is $84,000. This is almost a $35,000 difference to what Florida teachers make. While other countries in Europe pay teachers more than $80,000 per year. Teacher pay tells how much an area values education and the impact it has on students. It is clear Florida does not treat teachers with the respect deserved for someone that influences every aspect of a child's life. Did you know that teacher salaries can affect students? Research shows that higher pay attracts better quality teachers and shows higher performance teachers can affect the amount of students that graduate high school, college attendance, and even the students earning as an adult. A simple 10% pay increase can increase student performance by 5 to 10%. As you can see, Florida teachers are treated unfairly, and this treatment has many effects that can impact the workforce and students themselves. There is no other career in the world that influences the lives of children to the same extent, and this is why we need to help them. Teachers make a lasting impression on students, so if we want to create a generation of future students that will impact our world in a positive way, then we need to help the teachers of today. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. You have some closing comments?
Pardon, sir?
You got some closing comments?
I just want to say thank you for this opportunity, commissioners. The biggest supporters of the public speaking contest are University of Florida, the Brevard County Board of County Commissioners, and FPL. We're so grateful to have you guys helping us.
Well, thank you so very, very much. Shelby, Isabel, you did a great job. Very nicely done. Okay, let's go on to the consent agenda. Does the commission have any specific consent agenda items they'd like to have pulled? Commissioner Tobias, Commissioner Feltner, Commissioner Goodson. Okay, we have some speakers. Let's I think the only one that we have is 18 where we have speakers on. Do I have a motion to accept all of the consent agenda except for item F18? There's motion on the floor and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The consent agenda passes except for consent agenda number 18. And let's talk about Jack Meglio. Is that who's? Come on up, Jack, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for considering an executive session to discuss the wages of your Brevard County firefighters. In this short time that I have, I hope to educate you on some of the pressing issues plaguing BCFR. Your fire department is hemorrhaging employees at a pace never seen before. Over the past 6 weeks, BCFR has received 22 resignations from firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics. Only one was a retirement. Our employees are leaving at a record pace for other departments around the state of Florida, taking their invaluable experience and training with them. In addition, BCFR has 27 employee retirements in June, at a time when 2 months is away from opening a new Vieira fire station. This record-setting attrition is simply not sustainable. 3 years ago, BCFR set out on ambitious hiring goals. Additional personnel were allocated to fire rescue with the intention of expanding the floater pool of roaming firefighters to cut overtime. Overtime costs have not been cut. Additional personnel were also allocated in preparation of opening a new fire station in Vieira for the summer, with future expansions planned for Port St. John, Merritt Island, and also Palm Bay. As our population continues to grow, expansion of public safety and infrastructure is of paramount concern. In an attempt to stay ahead of the curve, BCFR brought on a full-time recruitment coordinator to meet the demands of hiring in a competitive job market. Ultimately, BCFR is not competing in our job market. Just a few short years ago, BCFR would see hundreds of qualified applicants for 20 to 30 vacancies. This gave fire rescue the ability to put applicants through a vigorous process to ensure the best and brightest were hired. Now we struggle to fill a new hire class. Just 2 weeks ago, we were supposed to begin with 25. We only began with 7. Over the past few years, we've been forced to hire all qualified applicants. We have not done an interview for firefighter positions in over 5 years, over a half of a decade. Simply put, if they meet the minimum requirements, we give them a job. Over the past 3 years in desperation, we as a department have begun offering scholarship opportunities to the community to pay for EMT and fire academy. It's a great opportunity for our local youth, but the associated cost for individuals who aren't even employed by BCFR is extensive. Once hired, trained, and equipped, cost over 3 months would be about $20,000 per individual. The scholarship is an additional $7,000 before they even step foot in the door. Thank you for letting me speak. God bless.
Thank you very much. Christian Fleming. I assume all of you in yellow are with our fire departments. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir. I am actually a
See how smart I am?
You are wonderfully smart.
Goodness
Thank you guys
gracious.
for having us at this meeting. My name is Christina Fleming. I am a retired firefighter, but I come to you as a member of the public because I'm a tax-paying member. I just want to let you guys know our starting firefighters, just basic, they get $41,089. After you go through just the basic gross Medicare, Social Security tax, your vision, your dental, your medical, your 3% that we have to pay into the FRS, you have your FPL, your rent. All of these numbers go through. The basic, best case scenario is the firefighter EMT gets to bring home, single firefighter EMT gets to bring home $380.46 to pay for food for the month. Worst case scenario is $180.46. Now, mind you, that is a single firefighter. If he has a family, it is negative $44.58 that he can bring home to his family for food. That's with everything covered that they need. So what I'm saying is we've just lost 37 people since January, 37. That is a lot of people, and 37 counts one that came today. So what I'm asking you guys is, take that into consideration when you're having an executive session, when you're discussing things with the county manager and also Mark Sugarman, the lawyer that you had to hire for this. Also, Mr. Tabaya and Mrs. Pritchett, you guys are out soon, but you are still working until November. Don't kick this can to the next commissioners. Please stand up. And we voted for you guys, so do what we voted for you guys. Mr. Tabaya, I'm in your area. So that's what I voted for you. I voted for you to be my voice. So I'm asking you, please do not kick this can to the next commissioners. Thank you very much for all of your time.
Thank you. Okay, if you guys all would, listen, we respect and appreciate everything you've done, but let's just please stop the applause so that we got a long meeting and things of that nature, and you're going to get the workshop and things, I believe, all heard out. So we'll listen very carefully tonight. Jimmy Cundiff, how do you say that? Jimmy, what's your last? Cundiff? Okay. Come on up, Jimmy.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
My name's
bud.
Jimmy Cundiff. I'm a firefighter paramedic for Brevard County Fire Rescue. I love working here. I've been here collectively about 5 years. To be honest, I don't want to be here today. I don't feel like I have to make a case for why, we need to be paid fairly. Like Chrissy just said, everything's going up. We know mortgages. I bought my house 13 years ago. My mortgage is going up. Everyone knows this. Groceries, FPL, can't afford a car nowadays. So the fire department's a little bit different. It's not like Walmart where you can transfer to another Walmart, make the same amount of money and have the same amount of vacation days, where our firefighters right now can apply anywhere, any River County, Kelly days. They can go to Port St. Lucie, make top out there is $117,000 a year. The beginning, the starting pay is around 50. Palm Beach County top outs around 120,000 a year with Kelly Day. That means every seventh shift they work, they have it off. We've been behind the ball for 20 years. We need to start catching up. I love working here. I know a lot of guys that love working here, but we're falling behind. Our top out right now after 15 years is 67,000 and some change. So that's after 15 years of service. Starting out, is around 50. It's pretty grim compared to any other place. We also transport. We ride ambulances. The other fire departments around us don't, but I feel like we get paid unfairly. Palm Bay has just agreed to around 35% raise for their firefighters, and we're struggling here. We're a big fire department. We do special ops, hazmat, everything. I feel like we need to, be brought up to the standard of everywhere else. It's too easy for these guys to leave and go somewhere else. It's just too easy. We have FRS where you can just transfer over to another county fire department and carry over your retirement. You're not losing anything. So it's even more of a case for these new guys to work 1 to 10 years, even 15-year guys can go down south and transfer over their retirement with their high five and start somewhere else with 17 days less days worked a year. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. All right, John Dacko.
Good evening.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good. How you doing? Good evening, esteemed commissioners. My name is John Dacko. I'm coming up on 18 years of dedicated service to BCFR. This will be my 5th contract negotiation that I've been witness during my tenure. I appreciate the opportunity to address you regarding a matter of utmost importance to wages, retention, recruitment, and the welfare of our Brevard County firefighters. In the last 6 weeks, our fire department has experienced an alarming exodus of talent. 23 dedicated firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics have resigned, with only one of those being of retirement. Additionally, we have faced the impending retirement of 27 more employees that is starting as early as June. This unprecedented attrition threatens the stability and effectiveness of our department, particularly as we approach the opening of a crucial new Vieira fire station. Despite ambitious hiring initiatives and recruiting efforts, we find ourselves struggling to maintain adequate staffing levels. These hiring goals were developed by the current BCFR administration and approved by the BOCC. The idea was to increase the floater pool so overtime costs could be mitigated. However, overtime costs have not been mitigated. It has increased to the extent that some of our firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics have been given mandatory overtime twice in the past 45 days. Where once we had a surplus of qualified applicants, we struggle to fill new hire classes. This decline in interest is directly correlated with our inability to offer competitive wages, work-life balance, and benefits, as evident by the exit interviews indicated that compensation and work-life balance are key factors in the employee's decisions to leave. These exit interviews can be made readily available. Moreover, our reliance on scholarship programs to attract new talent come at a significant cost, both financially and in terms of quality recruits. Many scholarship recipients fail out of the program or leave for other departments after they've completed their training with BCFR. The training costs over $20,000 to $30,000 per recruit, leaving us with little return on our investment. Advertising a competitive wage package would surely bring back applicants we are sorely losing to departments around us. In the last 6 weeks, again, our fire department has experienced an alarming exodus of talent. 23 firefighters that are dedicated to this job have left for surrounding agencies. To address these pressing issues and ensure the safety and well-being of our residents and visitors, I urge you to prioritize discussions on competitive wages, work-life balance, and benefits for our firefighters during your upcoming executive session. The residents of Brevard County deserve nothing less than a highly skilled and dedicated public safety workforce, and our firefighters deserve compensation that reflects the industry standard. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
John. All right, Paige Sassman. Good evening, Paige.
Good evening. My name is Paige Sassman. I've been with BCFR for 2.5 years now, which these days is a shocking amount of time to people. I'd like to start by saying thank you for considering an executive session with Chief Voltaire. I've lived here my whole life, and I honestly didn't really care about politics that much until I started working for this department. I'm about to become a paramedic with this department, which to me, I had a lieutenant who's actually here tonight tell me I'm about to become more valuable. It doesn't feel that way. I currently make $15.50 an hour. That's with 2 incentives, and I'm only getting $1 for far more responsibility once I become a paramedic. As a solo paramedic, I will be making about $2 more an hour, which again, a lot more responsibility, which other departments around here, as you've been told already, I can go make easy $20 an hour, if not more. I firmly believe Chief Voltaire has the best interest to do right by us in the field. He's shown so far that he does have good intent. The reality of it right now is that we're hemorrhaging people. And I wish that was an exaggeration, but it's not. Over the last month, 20 people and counting have left, and it's no secret that pay is the reason. If the pay doesn't increase, we won't have enough people to staff the units, and it's as simple as that. We're going to have to brown out units. The people here tonight, including myself, are passionate about this department and this career, but we need to provide for ourselves and our families. A third of our lives is sacrificed for this job, which is, again, the best job in the world, in my opinion. But because of the lack of pay, we are now having to sacrifice 2/3 or more of our time, if we can, working overtime to just afford bare necessities. I love this department and I don't want to have to leave, but with the way things are going right now, it's not looking good. I love this department. I love my crew. I love what I get to do. I get to actually do both sides of my job, and I'm passionate about both sides of my job. But at the same time, I just bought a house. My mortgage is double what my old mortgage was, and my pay is not. So with that, I would like to say thank you. Please go into this meeting if you choose to, with Chief Voltaire, with an open mind and open ears about the severity of the situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Craig Finkelstein. Good evening, Craig.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Craig Finkelstein. I'm a fire prevention inspector with Brevard County Fire Rescue. I'm also our inspector representative to the IFF 2969 E-Board. I come up here today just to thank you guys for considering an executive session. And I come to you to remind you that there are more than just the firefighters as well. Our firefighters are incredibly important, but there are inspectors that are in the CBA as well. Our job is also equally as important as the firefighters. We go in and we inspect buildings to make sure that they are safe for our citizens, for your citizens, and make sure that there are no hazards for them that would cause a fire or other dangerous issues. And I don't forget about us as the inspectors as well. We are also in that CBA. And I just wanted to thank you for having that executive session. Keep that in mind and just ask you to please do the right thing. Our wages are just as bad as the firefighters. We recently had one of our inspectors that left our department to go work for Indian River County Fire Rescue. Her starting salary was more than our top out salary currently is a Brevard County Fire. That needs to be addressed, in my opinion. We can't get anybody. We can't hire anybody. We have, I believe, 3 applicants right now, and none of them are qualified for multiple positions that are available. With that, thank you for having the executive session. Please keep that in mind, and please do the right thing for your citizens and for your firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Richie Stein.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Richie Stein. I'm a lieutenant with Fire Rescue. I've been employed here for 14 years. First, I would like to say thank you for taking a vested interest in your fire department, the ongoing issues, and seeking an executive session. You'll hear about, as you've already heard, issues like MOT, retention, attrition, and recruitment problems, low morale. We have lost approximately 23 people, as you've already heard, in the past 3 to 4 weeks. 37 since January. We've hired 31 since January. It's just simply unsustainable. These are issues that we face on a daily basis, but they are symptoms of the real issues: substandard pay and substandard work-life balance. We will not be able to keep employees if we're not competitive in these areas. I encourage you to ask about these issues during your executive session. Keep an open mind and understand our lives are affected by your decisions. Chief Voltaire is in a difficult spot. He must weigh the needs of the county, its citizens, and his employees. He understands where we are and what needs to be done to get BCFR back on track. As I've not always agreed with Chief on how we get there, I do believe he has the best interests of all, and also believe he is the right person to get the job done. We are at a critical point here at BCFR, and the decisions that will be made in the next few months will shape the future of the department for the better or worse. Hopefully for the better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Body or Mr. Richardson, do we need to have a motion to pass this, to have the executive session? Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion, sir.
Motion by Commissioner Feltner. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Tabaya. Any discussion? Just a comment. Thank you for what you do for us. We will give this serious consideration when we get into the executive session, and hopefully we can make some things that work for all of us. But thank you very, very much. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Okay. Let's get into public hearings. All right. Public hearing number 1. It's a temporary use agreement for Brevard County to continue using dewatering activities on county-owned parcel for the Grand Canal muck removal project. And that would be Steve Diaz, number 1, Uno 1. Pardon me? Virginia, do you want to, I'm sorry, Steve. Thanks, Commissioner. I appreciate it. Do you want to give an explanation to this?
Sure.
That would be great. I'm sorry. I apologize for passing over you.
No worries, Commissioner. As you said, this is a public hearing to continue allowing temporary dewatering activities on a county-owned parcel adjacent to the Pineda Causeway for the unincorporated Grand Canal muck removal project. The current temporary use agreement expires July 9th of 2024. This request is for up to 4 years, bringing the expiration to July 9th, 2028. We expect dredging to be done in 2027, but with site restoration carrying on into 2028. Multiple factors contributed to needing this extension request. Muck volumes are 30%, or approximately 30% greater than the original estimations that were based on surveys completed back in 2014, so 10 years ago. Changes were made to the interstitial water treatment methodology. The COVID pandemic affected material availability, equipment, and trucking. We've had hurricanes and severe weather delays, unexpected encounters with clay and rock, and extra time to process material to meet state cleanup target levels. A public meeting with the South Patrick Residents Association was held on April 25th to discuss the project and plans for completion. Public comments were received and residents' concerns regarding the project were heard. County staff have completed a list of action items gathered from that meeting. Project staff and consultants are available here tonight to provide any additional information at the Commissioner's request. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Virginia. Steve.
I don't know if I can put this up here somewhere, but I just want to show you how close I live to the demucking. Let me get there. There we go. That works. Can I hand these off to you guys? I had some presentation stuff.
Sure.
My name is Steve Diaz. I live, as you can see, about 225 feet from the demucking site. So basically, I just want to let you know first, starting off in the packets there's 21 other residents that have signed a petition to either stop the demucking project and not to extend it, or to find another DMA site to try to figure out what else to do with that demucking. My main concern is my family and my residents. We smelled a significant rotten egg smell on a consistent basis. From all my research that I've done, it seems to be most likely related to hydrogen sulfide or H2S. I asked the county a couple of weeks ago when they had the community meeting to do an air quality test, and why hasn't it been done in the 4 years that they've been working on the project. And they admitted that they had not done anything for air quality, which kind of goes against the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the EPA, and the Dredging Association's policies, where it's stating that they should be monitoring air quality as well as the human health impact that it could create. My family's suffering from nosebleeds, nausea, headaches, and loss of appetites at times where they never suffered that before moving to the area. I know I think that they might have done an air test the last week or two, but you can see in the last page of my presentation shows that the air direction was away from our properties, so that does play a part. And also, I just want to see if go on the record to the county if they are going to continue this, that they can give us some type of guarantee on the record that this is not a possible health hazard to us or to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have Mr. Gary Hanlon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Gary Hanlon. My address is 4052 Thrush Drive. I'm just around the corner from the Muck area, and there are several residents around me and the gentleman that just spoke from Tortoise Island. I understand that there's some difficulties involved. I think that Brevard Natural Resources has done a commendable job in trying to facilitate this cleanup. It's a super big project. As I mentioned to Commissioner Faulkner when I introduced myself, I was on the Marine Advisory Board for several years, approximately 11 years, quite a few years ago. And if you would have asked me then if we could appropriate the money to clean up our canals, I would have said I didn't think we'd ever be able to do it. But I know the people at Natural Resources, through their grant writing and everything else that they've done, have done a commendable job. And I look forward to them addressing the concerns of the community, which they did do in the April 25th meeting. I think that with a little effort on your part and the Natural Resources, we're going to maybe see some mermaids in the Grand Canal one of these days. Thanks an awful lot and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. Jeremy Kendall.
I just want to thank you for listening to me today. I'm Mr. Diaz's neighbor, so I'm also 225 feet from the demucking site. I won't repeat everything he said, but we do have similar problems. I'll come home to my house in the afternoon, and rotten egg smell would probably be welcome. It's more of a methane smell. And hydrogen sulfide, as it collects in areas that are not well ventilated, will collect and keep building. As it keeps building, it starts to smell more like methane. It's also more flammable at that point. So, so when you come home to your house and it smells like methane like that, all you want to do is, evacuate that house. Your eyes start watering, and this is constant. My concerns are that just after the letter came out asking for the extension, Mr. Diaz and I were on Fox News, and the day after that, it seems like everything stopped at that site. There were very few people there, not much going on. It was in full force for about 10 days. We haven't smelt anything there since. So I don't know if they were skipping a step that prevented the smell or something different's being done, but it doesn't make any sense that for 3 years we've been dealing with that, and all of a sudden we haven't smelt that anymore. Maybe it'll come back. I hope it doesn't, but that's been the case. Also, members of the Brevard County Environmental, I've been searching through my social media. Don't know why they were doing that. And also the day after we were on TV, someone came by our house. You were sitting next to him at the last meeting in the back in their boat, filming me and my wife on the dock and taking pictures of us. Don't know why that was necessary, but I thought you should know.
Thank you very much. Senator Sullivan.
Sandra Sullivan. So one of my concerns with the Grand Canal project is the PFAS contamination. So the EPA came out with a study in September of air inhalation risk, but we have no VOC monitoring happening for PFAS contamination, even though the base is the third highest contaminated base in the country. You think we would be doing more to protect our residents' health and safety? The second concern I have is that this project was supposed to be done in 2023, completed. Last time I checked, we're 2024, and they're talking about not being done until 2027. Well, you know what? If I do third grade math and I take 4 years over 68% complete, which is where we were at the start of this year, and I extrapolate with a little ratio, it comes out with 5.88 years for 100%. Well, that would put you at 2025, not 2027. I did records requests, and I find out where there's emails saying the Satellite Beach project's going to start in the 2026, which would correspond to our project ending in 2025. So I called DEP, and DEP tells me, yeah, the Satellite Beach project is going to be using the Pineda DMAA site. So then I talked to Vinny Toronto with the Sorrel the other day, and he tells me that he called Amanda Peck at DEP, and she told him the county hasn't made up their mind yet. So here's a very simple suggestion that you can do today for the TUA, and you can just add in a clause with your motion, add in a clause, Commissioner District 4, add in a clause that says we will only use this site for the Grand Canal project as for the delineation of area that it is now. Because we've got emails, we've got, here's from the permit saying Satellite Beach project's going to be done in 2028. Guess what? The O'Galley project using the BV 52 site, it doesn't end until 2027. So how can they be finished in 2028 when they would be starting in 2028? And then you've got Satellite Beach on social media bragging that they're using the Pineda DMAA site. And then here's my email confirming with DEP that that's the site they're using. And then you look at the permit. I got a copy of the permit. And lo and behold, you got pipe from O'Galley all the way down 8.1 miles, all the way down to the BB52 site in Palm Bay. But what about the 5 miles between Satellite Beach and O'Galley? Not in the plan. Huh. Isn't that strange? So again, if you're trustworthy, and this isn't a bait and switch, which has all the indications of based on what the DEP has communicated, then you would have no problem with inserting a clause in your TUA with an addendum that simply says, this site is only for the Grand Canal project, and we will not be extending it to other projects. Thank you very much, and here's some handouts.
Just one. Craig Wallace.
Good evening, Commissioners. So I'm wearing 3 hats tonight, so that means I get 3 minutes for each hat, right? No, just kidding, sorry. The first hat is as a homeowner in Tortoise Island, Satellite Beach, on the Grand Canal. I've lived through the past 3.5, 4 years of the muck dredging project. Fortunately, I don't live across the street from it, so I haven't endured some of what the folks here have talked to you about tonight. But one thing I know is that when I moved into my house in March of 2016, I had a whole canal full of dead, stinking, rotten fish in my backyard. And the canal color was this reddish, awful reddish brown color that I never want to see again. And so I vowed at that point in time that I would do everything I could to make sure that, you know, whatever it was that was causing this problem, we fixed it. And so I've been involved in this, which is my third hat. But my second hat is that, first of all, it's as of right this past weekend, after the dredge had gone past my house, the clarity of the water was, I could see 10 feet down. I was watching snook pass by, all kinds of game fish in there that we've never seen before. So we are making a big impact with this project. So my second hat is as a member of the board of Tortoise Island Homeowners Association. And that I have heard, we just had our meeting this past month, and I heard from all of the passion pleas from all of our residents, as you've heard tonight. it's really tough listening to the stories they're telling and what they have to put up with. So I understand that. And, you know, they all say that they want to make sure that this lagoon gets cleaned up. So they want this program to go forward, but we need to work out the best possible way to try to minimize the discomforts that they're dealing with, especially if it's going to be for another 3 or 4 years. My third hat, which you're probably more familiar with me, is as the chairman of the Brevard Indian River Lagoon Coalition, which I've worked closely with the county to try to get these programs working and to communicate with the public the issues we have with these programs, as well as what all the good that they're doing in the county. So having been through all of that array of things, hopefully it will help you perceive some of the challenges as I put before you tonight, and that our best approach is dialogue. And I think all have mentioned tonight the meeting that Virginia put on the 25th of April that really got all of the people together, got people asked questions, and now the county staff has responded to most of the questions that were asked there. I think that working together is the best solution to this. So we just need to keep our eyes and ears open. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig. All right, there are no more cards on this. Have discussion from the board or a motion? Discussion, go ahead. Commissioner Pritchett.
Okay, Miss Virginia, just for the public, I think we're about halfway done with the project from what I'm reading in the paper. And I got to be briefed before we had this meeting. Could you go ahead and let everybody know why we have more muck than we thought when we started the project?
Well, muck continues to accumulate while we continue to put too much pollution in the lagoon. So, we have hundreds of millions of projects, millions of dollars worth of projects underway to stop that pollution before it gets to the lagoon. But those projects aren't complete yet. And so that pollution, as well as, grass clippings and other things right there from the community, continue to add muck to the system.
And part of it, we had more get in there before we were able to start the project when you did the first analysis, correct?
Correct. Those
I should have
surveys
helped you with that.
Right. The volume was surveyed back in 2014. So it's, 10 more years of
It
accumulation.
had increased in. So hopefully we're able to win that battle, because it's hard to keep taking it out if we have more going in. Just a quick question, just on the simple end of it. So by what these gentlemen are saying, we can tell it's like really bad stuff in there if we have all of this air quality issues over at their houses. So it's important we get it out. And you did do a testing from what they said here?
Yes, we ordered hydrogen sulfide testing and set up systems closest to, well, first we surveyed all around the DMMA site to figure out where the highest readings were. And not surprisingly, they're where the muck is coming fresh out of the dredge pipe into the sand settling basin. And so we set up a monitoring system there. Then we set up another system downwind between where all the geotubes are dewatering the material. And then we moved the first station to the section of the construction area closest to the homeowners on Tortoise Island. And so we've monitored there since the middle of last week. And that monitoring shows that our noses are extremely sensitive to hydrogen sulfide. And so just because we can smell it doesn't mean that it's at dangerous levels. So what the sensors are telling us is that the levels are way, way, way below any sort of human health concern.
Yeah, are we going to be able to monitor on a continual basis moving forward for a little while, just to make sure we didn't have a hit and miss day? Or
if the board wants us to do that, we can extend that monitoring, but there's no reason to think that it would be different than what we have found so far. And in the history of all the county's dredging and all the other dredging that's gone on, this has not been a human health concern.
Okay, do you think there's going to be the problem with this situation a few of the homeowners are having for a while? Do you think this is going to help alleviate itself after you get a certain amount out soon, or? I'm sorry, I should ask you this offline first. How much longer do you think this is going to be a problem?
The smell,
Yeah.
it will, as long as we are dredging fresh muck out of the
smell
lagoon,
bad.
there's a potential for smell.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm hoping then with communication, we'll be able to keep monitoring it as we need to. So, but thank you so much for all of your work. And guys, thank you for bringing it all to our attention.
Commissioner?
Commissioner, yeah, yes.
Sorry, may I just add that the temporary use agreement that's in your packet, it specifies that the purpose is to continue to fulfill the county's obligation to conduct muck dredging along the unincorporated segment of the Grand Canal system. And then it also says that the agreement shall expire on the date the project is deemed complete.
Thank you. Commissioner Fellner.
I think you kind of answered the main one there, Virginia, that the cities of Satellite Beach and Indian Harbor will have separate contracts to go south, right?
Correct.
That, okay.
They do not have permission from you as the controllers of that property to use the county's DMMA. Their permits specify that they will use the Florida Inland Navigation District BV 52 site in Palm Bay.
Right, understood. Certainly sympathetic to homeowners' concerns. You said the board, if gave you direction, you'd be able to continue the monitoring of the sulfide gas. What additional cost or burden would that add to the project?
I believe the cost of the monitoring that we've done so far is around 14 or 15,000. To continue that for the month would bring us to around 33,000. Thank you. Sign language from the back of the room.
Okay, but that's something also too that we could possibly discuss further at the next county commission meeting.
Well, the equipment will go back before the next meeting, and we would have a new rental. It's cheaper to keep the current equipment than to send it back and order it again.
Okay, so as part of, I'll tell you, I'm going to make a motion to continue the project. I would like to add in the monitoring for the remainder of the month. So,
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Feltner to adopt the mucking facility as long as it's monitored for the end of the month, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Pritchett. Is there any more discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, the motion carries. All right. Let's move on. We're getting into I-1, which is, Peter, are you here?
Mr. Chair, would you consider a 5-minute break?
I would.
All right.
Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back. Thank you. Agenda item I1. And Peter, would you like to lead us into that, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. This is item coming from the TDC. It's a request from the city of Cocoa for a $5 million reimbursable capital facilities grant for a Brightline station in Cocoa, Florida. And sir, I do believe the city is here prepared to do a presentation on this.
Okay, great. I think Samantha, do you want to take the lead on this, or the mayor?
All right.
We're going to get this party started.
Okay.
She said yes.
Never
do whatever
argue
you
with
need
two
me to.
women,
Right,
Mayor.
That's why I said. She
Rule
said
number
yes.
1.
You're correct there, Chairman. Good evening, County Commissioners, County Manager, and Attorney. I, Michael Blake, is here to say all roads lead through Cocoa. Automobiles, airplanes, and now even bright line trains, I'm happy to say. The prospect of a new passenger rail station in the great city of Cocoa brings immense potential for economic growth, increased connectivity, revitalization, not only for the Cocoa community, but for the Space Coast. I'm excited to introduce to you our team that is here today for supporting this project. And when I call your name, please stand. From the great city of Cocoa, our Deputy Mayor Lavander Hearn, please stand. From District Number 3, Matt Behringer, please stand. From District Number 1, Alex Goings, please stand. Stockton Whitten, our City Manager, please stand. The effervescent Mrs. Samantha Singer, the Director of the Cocoa Communications and Economic Development, and members of our various board members, please stand and be recognized. Please join us because there's power in numbers. Also from the Brightline executives, Ben Porrett, SVP and Corporate Affairs, Esquire Kendall Moore, and needless to say, but also very industrious, the Space Coast Transportation and Planning Organization, Ms. Georgiana Gillette, the Executive Director. Please stand and be recognized, ma'am. Thank you. And also from HDR, Jeff Arms, who's in the audience too as well. Please stand. And now we will bring on Mrs. Singer to start this presentation. But before I take my seat, let me be first to say happy early Mother's Day. Thank you very much.
It's always a good idea to take a 5-minute break before you turn the mic over to the mayor here. So, but we love him. We love him. Samantha, please go ahead.
Start off by saying that this is going to be a transformative project for the Space Coast, not just for the city of Cocoa. And okay, so this, as you all know, the city of Cocoa is centrally located along the Brightline route. You can see along the map here. So we are centrally located along the Orlando-Miami route with easy access to everything that the Space Coast offers, including Port Canaveral, major international airports, major highways, and more. Cocoa also serves as a gateway to the many attractions in our area, and we'll talk a little bit more about those as well. This is a prime opportunity for development and growth surrounding the station, leading to increases in the tax base from tourism tax, sales tax, countywide property tax, and City of Cocoa property tax. The station will be situated on a portion of over 90 acres of land that is owned by either Brightline or the City of Cocoa, with parking which will be remaining publicly owned by the City of Cocoa. With easy access to Port Canaveral, Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex, Brevard Zoo, and the Melbourne-Orlando International Airport.
The Cocoa Station will design and layout is anticipated to be similar to the Boca Raton Station. It will be approximately 7,500 to 9,000 square feet with surface parking. And there will also be additional tracking that will be done west of the station. This will be a multimodal hub, transportation hub for our area that can provide guests the opportunity to visit the Space Coast, including a hub for tours, cruise ships, and hotel transit, and rideshare opportunities. With over 90 acres available for potential development, the city of Cocoa envisions a station that is part of an urban mixed-use destination that will not just be a stop, but a place where people will want to go. We will see a surge in both residential and commercial development, including restaurants, hotels, again, leading to increases in what we see in taxes, sales and tourism taxes, county property tax, and city of Cocoa property tax. There's going to be a growing market demand will create a vibrant community with proximity to jobs, access to public services, spaces, and activity. Rail stations have been shown to create jobs, increase property values, and strengthen communities. So we know a lot about our tourism. A report just came out from the Space Coast Office of Tourism. We have a lot of great data. You can see from their 2024 marketing plan the reasons why people come and visit our Space Coast. Beaches, rocket launches, pre and post cruise, nature and outdoors, leisure activities, all accessible from a centrally located station. The top destinations and attractions along the Space Coast include Port Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, and Brevard Zoo. Again, all easily accessible from a Cocoa station. You can see from this graphic, there are a number of attractions along the Brightline route from Miami to Orlando, including cruise terminals, casinos, sports arenas, theme parks, national parks, and more. Getting the Cocoa Station built will keep Brevard's prime destinations that I mentioned earlier competitive along this Brightline route. Otherwise, these attractions are not a destination for Brightline riders. The Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization has engaged HDR to look at the feasibility numbers related to the Cocoa Station, and I'd like to welcome up Jeff, who's here with us today, to review some of that information with you.
Thanks. Once again, my name is Jeff Arms. I'm a vice president with HDR Engineering. I've been doing transportation planning in Florida for over 25 years, so time flies. But I'm here to just talk a little bit about some of the analysis we did in the ridership estimates and how it might translate into overnight stays. I know the city also engaged a separate consultant and economic development firm that came up with a similar estimate using a slightly different methodology. So it's pretty consistent with the overall approach. So Brightline is currently had in 2023 1.6 million riders. That is to note that the Orlando station did not open until September of 2023, but they're on target and their goal is 4 million riders per year. What we ended up doing was we did a catchment opportunity, which was to analyze using a travel demand model called Replica that captures our ridership. It's an activity-based model, and it's able to take anonymous traffic cell phone data and extrapolate that into overall activity between different areas of the state. And you can see that right now there's 29 million interactions potential between, or that are already happening between these areas. The way we define a catchment area is we just follow the methodology that Brightline had used for their ridership estimates for their bondholders, and that is really to understand the activity that's happening within a 45-minute drive of the station. As we all know, Brightline is a premium service, and there are some users that are going to choose to visit certain areas because they want to just not have to drive and to be able to take the train as their choice for their destination. Some notes on the ridership. We took a similar approach to what Brightline had done in their ridership estimates, was basically to take a look at potential market share of the interactions that are occurring overall. And then we're resulting in approximately like 4% of the overall interactions could be riders using the Brightline service. From there, we just looked at what the room nights could be, and just taking into account that our estimate is that a very slight increase of users would choose to come to Brevard that may otherwise go somewhere else if it weren't for the option of the Brightline. And what we looked at was that we estimated that approximately 42,000 people, and this is really only 3% of the Brightline ridership. If you converted for room nights and duration of stays, you would get approximately 78,000 additional room nights. And that's like a conservative model. And that's just 0.1% of the overall interaction of all the trips that would be going to Brevard County already. So we were just estimating that there'd be, even with a slight increase of users that are now able to use the Brightline state service to come to Cocoa, you would get $500,000 to $1 million in additional tourist bed revenues based on the data and assumptions that are already out there. So with that, I just also wanted to note too, the state had done an economic impact study of Brightline as a part of the statewide rail plan. And it did estimate with 16 trains a day, which I believe is what Brightline is currently running, there would be an economic impact of almost 2.8 billion. And as mentioned, how would Brevard capture some of that economic impact? And with the station, they could be able to do some of that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Samantha to finish.
Hold on there. I think
Yeah.
Commissioner Tobias has a question for you.
Sure.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, you were using a lot of math and assumptions, and so help me if we could step back.
Sure.
You said your findings were pretty similar to the Downs and St. Germain. I haven't seen
Correct.
yours, so I'm going off theirs. So some questions, because again,
Sure.
I've only seen this wonderful 6-page slide that someone paid an obscene amount of money for. They use estimates of 5% overnight visitors and 5% day trippers, 10 and 10, 15 and 15. Is used as similar?
We had a different methodology approach than what they had. Ours was based on the percent. I can go back.
My question is, there are other stops along the way at West Palm
Correct.
Beach, Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, and Aventura.
Mhm.
Those probably would be, my guess, the best estimates for people that actually get off the train. My question, did you use any of those numbers to extrapolate the dollar figures that you were putting up here?
I'll take a step and walk back. Brightline we're able to model the interaction between station areas based on the existing, using the replica model, which captures mobility between cell phones. And what Brightline has done in their ridership is they can understand the interactions between the station area shed of where you could capture riders throughout the whole state. About half the economic activity will be in the state of Florida is actually captured along the Brightline route. And what we did in our approach, which was different, was we looked at what the interaction was as shown on the slide of how many millions of trips.
Yeah, but my question is just simple. My question is, how many people get off the train, right?
At Cocoa?
Well, that's an extrapolation off of other data. We
Correct.
have data points. There are other stops. Those other stops again are West Palm, Boca Raton,
Correct.
Fort Lauderdale, and Aventura between the beginning and the end, right? So
Yes.
if we're going to make a conjecture, we've got a new station potentially coming up, right?
Mhm.
We would look at the other 4 stations. I don't know. I don't do modeling, but I think that probably would be the first data point we look at. So my question to you is, how many people got off the train and spent one night or 2 nights at West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, or Aventura?
I don't have specific numbers at my hand for each, but what I can say is the ridership for Brightline, believe last month was around 200,000 that they had achieved, like 200,000 in just that 1 month. Riders, our projection of the 4 million, our projections take into account all the stations being interactions in the future. I'm just saying that
I'm just trying to I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure out how. I don't care about those other stations. I care
Mhm.
about how many people are going to get off the train in Cocoa and then contribute to the base. We have other models to look at, right? And with other data points.
Yeah.
And
Our
you
model,
didn't look
our
at any of
model
those data
was,
points.
yeah, our model was that we estimated that 1.2 million per year based on following the same methodology that Brightline had used for their ridership estimates would get off annually at the Cocoa station.
But okay, and that's not off of any of the other stops there, correct? You're just using a number that was given to you by Brightline. Is that?
No, I'm following a similar methodology for ridership estimates that Brightline did. I don't have, Brightline doesn't publish specifically how many are
Okay.
getting off at each specific station. One thing that's a little bit different about Brightline is that it's not a publicly run station, so they don't report the same ridership as a publicly run transit agency would. So I'm not privy to their proprietary data. What I can do is to follow good transportation planning practices of ridership forecasting. And that's what we did, which was following a similar forecast that they had published with their ridership reports that went into like their bond selling.
Okay, and out of curiosity, I assume you're probably in favor of the train station happening. I assume Brightline is probably in favor of the train station happening. My question would be, why wouldn't they share that data with you?
What I can say is my job is not to be in favor of the station happening or not. My job is to analyze the feasibility of the station and to perform analysis and to provide results and data based on our expert opinion in the field. So to
Based
answer
on- real quick,
to answer your
okay.
question, we haven't completed the entire feasibility study.
Okay.
Brightline's already announced that they want to move forward with the station. I was simply asked what would be an estimate, a conservative estimate of ridership and how many could stay overnight at this location. And we took a very conservative estimate that there's 29 million interactions to the Brevard Cocoa area station is what is occurring just as far as trips. And that's what's shown on this slide. And if you just took 0.1% of that was additional, was users that were taking Brightline and then staying overnight, it would produce approximately the same result as what the economic analysis firm that the city had produced as well. So I took a different approach, and it was really just based on applying percentage to ridership and came up with a similar result to their estimate. That's all I'm trying to
Gotcha.
explain.
And one last final question.
No, go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Can
All
you
good questions, sir?
Yeah, I'm still trying to, I'm looking under, again, you didn't do this one, but you said it was quite similar. I'm looking under the assumptions and caveats under the other one that you referenced, Downs and Germain. Can you explain, and you even mentioned this, there are many people would normally drive, but instead would elect to take the train. You referenced that. And that I saw that as an assumption missed here. So can you explain how you've taken that into consideration? So my question is, that's not new money, right? It's just someone coming on a different method of transportation coming into Cocoa.
So, some of the ridership approach would be that people would make the trip already, but there are also some ridership that would be what we call like induced ridership. Like, I'll be honest with you, I live in Orlando. The opportunity to go to South Florida and to Miami is much more lucrative if I don't have to drive and worry about parking. So there are people that have higher economic impact level or economic status that are going to choose to go to travel places because the train does go there.
And what is that
versus-
induction number? And when you're through your modeling, I'm sorry.
Right. So I estimated that would be 0.1% of all the interactions with the Cocoa station. 0.1% of the 29 million equates to the 42,000 persons choosing to stay overnight. And then you have to take into account room occupancy, then you have to take into account duration of stay. And that's how I arrived at the 78,000 room nights annually.
I'm sorry, I'm just not understanding because the people are, the 29 million are already coming. Your interaction number
Correct.
29.
29 million is already occurring.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
And
there's no induction there because let's assume that's stable, right? You're assuming that's not a variable. That's a consistent number.
Correct. But if you just, my assumption based on the analysis, if you increase that by 0.1% increase, and those were folks that wanted to stay overnight in Brevard, that would produce 42,000 people annually.
Why not 0.7% or 13% or 0.004? How did you come up with 0.1?
The 0.1% was I took into account with some of my staff looking at different, let me go to the next slide. The number of hotel rooms within Brevard and how that equates to, it's really just a small fraction. There's approximately 12,000 hotel rooms in Brevard County that are going to be open by like next year, according to the tourism data. So the percentage, and I'd have to go back to the math, that would actually increase the number of hotel rooms itself on a nightly basis was fairly small. And like I said,
I'm sorry, I'm not following you. That's hotel nights, right?
Correct.
We're talking
Correct.
about ridership.
Correct.
We're talking about ridership now. So those, I don't see the correlation between the two. I'm just trying to understand how you came up with the 0.1%. Is that just a number that you pulled out of thin air, or is there some industry standard that says 0.1% is the increase we'll see when there's a new type of transportation?
Okay. So the market share of users was 4%, was estimated to be 4% of the 29 would be the ridership. Okay. I simply made a professional judgment, educated decision that 0.1% was a very small additional amount of trips that would want to take a mode.
Okay. So it was a guess.
It's based on my profession and 25 years of being a transportation planner. I'm the lead transit planner for HDR for Florida. So I do have some experience working in this type of field, and based on studies and my history and experience doing this type of work, I estimated it would be a 0.1% increase of inducement of travel would result in that number of hotel
Okay, one final question. So there's no data to back up other than the 25 years of experience that you have, the 0.1%.
I think
Because that's a fundamental number. You understand we can increase that to 1%, the numbers go up 10.
It goes up quite a bit.
Or we can do 0.01,
Right.
it goes down.
But
you know.
I also took into account that it's somewhat constricted by how many room nights there would be. So if someone was going to stay and induce extra nights and there weren't hotel rooms to do it, you couldn't have those additional stays.
Why
So
not? We have Airbnbs. That's a number that goes up, you know.
I did constrict it, is what my point was I tried to constrict the amount it could induce based on a realistic number. And the other thing I would note is Brightline is the only intercity private passenger rail in the country. So there is I will grant you, there is not a lot of data points based on other modes of rail and how much people would take. What I would say though is, I think we've all met people that have taken Amtrak to go visit other cities as like a trip. And that's an inducement that they chose to go there because Amtrak went there. I know as a kid, I went from Washington, D.C. to New York because Amtrak was there and we took that as a mode. I'm just using that as an example. That's why, in my professional opinion too, was taking into account the analysis in the 29 million and the 4%, felt that the 0.1% additional was a realistic, very conservative amount of induced trips.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, I thought those were excellent questions. I appreciate it. And I think that they were answered very well by you.
Thanks.
But we all know that what you do is you hire an expert. This gentleman's an expert. In addition to that, some of these numbers are subjective. Experts have to rely on subjective numbers based on other data. So we don't have objective data to determine the exact numbers, but your questioning was absolutely right on the money. So I understand that, and I think the answers were great. Samantha.
So that leads us to our final slide tonight, which is the project total and remaining capital requirements. So you can see from here, $6 billion has already been invested in the Brightline system network, which enables the city of Cocoa and Brevard County to have a stop. So they have already invested $6 billion in their system, which enables us to have a station in the city of Cocoa. We, the city of Cocoa, have earmarked $5 million. Our council, city council has earmarked $5 million towards the project. The Space Coast Transportation and Planning Organization is utilizing their future federal funding allocations for $15.5 million towards the project. Brightline has invested $3.2 million to purchase the land in the area in 2012. They will also be assuming all of the operating expenses for the project for the foreseeable future at an estimated value of $2.8 million annually for station-specific costs, which equates to a net present value of $82.5 million over the next 50 years. The city will collaborate with the TPO and Brightline to secure additional federal funding towards this very transformative project. And you can see that the two allocations from the city of Cocoa and hopefully the allocation from the Space Coast Office of Tourism can all be used as leverage for federal grant funding. So we can take that $5 million and leverage it to $20 million in federal funding. So today's ask is for approval of the $5 million in available tourist development tax funding to support the city of Cocoa's efforts to make this multimodal station a reality. And we have our team here who can answer any questions that you all might have. Thank you.
Okay, Samantha, thank you very much. I think what we'll do is go to the cards, and at the end, we'll open up, I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion, and we'll go from there. Commissioner Pritchett, did you have something you wanted to say first? You sure? We're,
I would love to.
no, go ahead.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
All right, let's go. All right, then. Let's go to Pam Shia. Pam, you have 3 minutes. Welcome tonight. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me tonight. Tonight, I'm representing Historic Cocoa Village Main Street. I am the president to the organization. All of you should have received a letter from us this week, along with documentation with over 100 businesses in the area supporting this beautiful addition to our community. You've already heard them talk about the addition of the tourism. We've heard the discussions on the simplicity of the logistics of where this is located. This is the center of Brevard County. When I moved here 24 years ago, I was like, oh, what have I moved to? And now I am so happy to live here, and the excitement is tremendous over the fact that we have this Brightline train. So we hope tonight that the commission feels the same way we do, and that the $5 million will be moved in that direction. We are the center. We are 5 minutes from, if you got off the train, because I live right there, and you take 2 traffic lights, you're at the beach. You take 3 traffic lights, you're at the Space Center. You take 1 traffic light and you're at the port. And you take 2 more traffic lights and you can come through Cocoa Village. You get on 95, you can be at the zoo. So this will open up many opportunities for all of us. I look forward to riding this train. I look forward to having it in our area. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Audrey Stewart. Arborado Restoration.
Yes.
Okay, a word from our sponsor.
Right. Hi, I'm Audrey Stewart. I appreciate you guys hearing me out this evening. Harbor Auto Restoration is a family-owned business. We've been in business for 40 years, started by my parents and grandparents. And 20 years ago, we moved our business from South Florida up to Rockledge, which has been incredible. And we've loved our facility in Rockledge right up until Brightline started its construction. Unfortunately, since the construction began, we've experienced flooding of our property and buildings, erosion of the land behind our property, and then the collapsing of our fencing system, which is part of our security of our property and our clients' cars. Over the period of the railway construction, we've been in contact with both HSR constructors and the project engineering for Brightline. HSR constructors assured us that all of our issues and damage would be addressed as soon as the railway was complete. Once it was complete, we followed up, and then we were told, oh no, it's not our problem anymore. Now you will go to the project engineer of Brightline and they will help you out with your facility issues. Both came out, assessed our facilities, and noted the damages and said that they would be in contact to assist us in moving forward. After multiple emails, phone calls, messages, sending photos and videos of their flooding and property, we received no responses from Brightline for months at a time. Unfortunately, our business continues to deteriorate. The property is eroding away, and we've had to shut down our business on multiple occasions due to flooding and safety concerns, with loss of income to both our business, but also to our employees. So while we are not opposed to a station coming in, we just ask that prior to releasing funding for future progression of this Brightline, you ask them to take care of your residents who were negatively affected by the lines that they have put in. I appreciate your time and understanding. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question real fast. Auto restoration, do you have used automobiles or junk automobiles on your site?
So we restore classic cars from, basically customers bring them in and we bring them.
Okay, so it's not a junkyard.
No, it's not a junkyard.
Okay,
We're a
I just,
restoration
I wanted,
business.
I wanted to just make sure that was very clear tonight so everybody heard it.
Yes,
Thank you very
no,
much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So, Chase Chambliss?
Mayor.
Good evening,
Hello, Mayor.
Commissioners. I'm Chase Chambliss. I have kind of a couple of points here. I'm new mayor of Palm Shores. I replaced Carol McCormick about 10 months ago, and I'm here to support this initiative, support Mike Blake and his team, and also Commissioner Steele in passing this initiative. I believe that Cocoa is ideal for location. Reviewed the information, and I think that they've got a proposition here that would do nothing but benefit Brevard County. So I'd keep it short. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Matt, where are you?
I'm getting older. Greetings, County Commission. Pleasure to see you all. And actually, as this issue is coming before you all, I really do appreciate both the experience and really just the tenure that you have in your lives as public service to address what is at best a complex issue. So, there's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to add relative to some of the financial assumptions. That is for sure. And so, Commissioner Tobias, thank you for asking those. The scrutiny, Member Feltner as well. I know that fiscal conservatism is a practice and a reality. Member Pritchett as well, and Member Goodson. So thank you for that, because those questions will make this better. The experience that you all have as a body will make this project better. So I do ask that you make that consideration. My consideration is simply this. Many of you were in service at some point in time when the space program shut down. And it took a community to come together beyond just one single entity to change a community. I know that when the city of Titusville decided to do a secondary bond for Exploration Park, when there was not a whole lot else there, I'm so grateful to that decision, because the reality is that when you go across the park now and look at Blue Origin and the investment to SpaceX and the space and our space community, that is a transformational change. The city of Cocoa, we share so many issues collectively. And this is one of those opportunities to make those transformational change to a community that we all represent. As a representative for District 3, I'm about ground zero where this thing lands. And so from a community standpoint, I bring myself and the voice of our community as well. From shared investment, the one thing I would hope that you would consider as well is, for all the money that we spend into beach renourishment, I've never gotten a dollar from somebody from the beach. And yet we still do that because there's a shared benefit to all of the community. When we talk about laying as a utility, the fiduciary responsibility to ensure that we have water access well into Vieira and beyond, right? Well into Vieira, we make those investments long before any of us will continue to serve. It's the same similar investment and the consideration that I would ask to the benefit of our entirety community. Florida ranks the 15th largest almost economy in the world, depending on who you ask. And within that 15th largest economy, the question becomes, what role does Brevard County have in supporting us as a state and we as an economy and we as Floridians? I think that Brevard County's role is significant and substantial when we talk about being a quintimodal, including from spaceports to train travel. The reality is that we already, myself and my wife, as for work, take the Brightline down to Miami about once a month, and it's 1,000 times better than having to drive there and back. So in practical reality, I say thank you for your consideration to this. And I would just ask that every time we've made a large investment into ourselves, it's paid off and we win. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Candace Rogers.
Good evening, Commissioners, County Manager, and County Attorney and staff. Tonight is an historical moment in time as you decide the approval of the TDC recommendation to grant $5 million to the Cocoa Brightline train station. To help you in your decision, let us look at history. Significant development of Florida only began in the late 19th century with the coming of the railroad, specifically the Florida East Coast Railroad, whose greatest achievement was the development of the East Atlantic coast. Without the FEC Railroad, cities like Miami, West Palm Beach, and Daytona Beach would simply not exist in their present form and stature. In 2012, an announcement stated a privately operated passenger service would return to the FEC rails. While some counties asked for compensation and others sued unsuccessfully, Cocoa asked for only one thing, a station. Over a decade later, we are here tonight asking for your approval of the TDC recommendation, not just on behalf of the city of Cocoa, but on behalf of Brevard County and our Space Coast stakeholders. Yes, it will be an economic spark for Cocoa, but also for Brevard County. We'll be seated at the same economic table, benefiting from what will be the most inclusive, wide-ranging, transformative grant the TDC has ever recommended. I kindly ask that we all get on board and make this opportunity a reality. Thank you.
Stuart Glass.
Good evening. I'm Stuart Glass. I'm Deputy Mayor of the town of Indian Atlantic. What's Indian Atlantic have to do with Brightline? It's simple. This is a multimodal community. We've done a lot to make it that way. We've been involved with Brightline since the very beginning. I'm just here to wave and support, so please approve. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Julie Doyle. Good evening, Julie.
Good evening. I'm also here to wave and support. My husband and I have lived in the county for many years, and we've seen the evolution of the county, the passover from Pineda to I-95, the avenue being built in Vieira, and those were all good changes. We got more infrastructure, we got more jobs, we got more access to goods and services. We expect that Brightline will do that same kind of effect, but on steroids for us. I work for a major defense contractor. My husband works in the public sector. We come across many, many people in our daily lives, and we have not heard one person say that they were against this. The business community is well behind this. The taxpayers are behind it, and we want this effort. Every time I saw that Brightline pass through here without stopping, I have to tell you, it pissed me off. I felt like we were missing out. We were missing out on a piece of the pie. We were missing out on the access to get to the airport, to go south. We were missing out on opportunity. And we have to not just look at who gets off at the station. We need to look at what the station is going to do for that surrounding area. all of you can look up the Brightline effect, all the development that's occurred in the area of the various Brightline stations up and down. I worked for many years in Palm Bay and Malabar, and I have to say that what is good for one area of Brevard is good for all of Brevard. It's good for all of us. It will draw people to, yes, to that part of the county, and it will also help develop what we know to be a somewhat blighted area, which is good for all of us. It will bring in shops, it will bring in restaurants. You had a whole presentation by professionals on what it's going to do. Look at when I first moved here, the avenue didn't exist. I moved away for 4 years, I came back. Look what's there. Now look what's around it. It's amazing. All the condos, all the places, the hotels, and all those people. You need places to live for those people that work in those defense contractors that are up and down the county, not just in Cocoa Sea. They're in Malabar, they're in Palm Bay, they're up on the Space Center, and we need this, and it's good for us, and please support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Sullivan. Yeah, please.
Okay. Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. So thank you, Commissioner Tobias, for your point about proprietary data. As I recall, we've denied some TDC grants recently because when they want public money, you need to provide data. So let me go to one of his numbers. He said ridership was 29 million. I did just a little search on here. I wanted to see what the ridership was. Here's a Bloomberg article. They just downgraded their ridership to 4.9 million, not 29 million. All right, so first things, I watched the TDC meeting. I sent out a little clip to a lot of people in Brevard. And first of all, per your agenda item, this is from the Capital Facilities Fund, which, as our chair so aptly said, requires a supermajority vote. So that would be my first request to this board, that we don't play a game that we're moving it to marketing when it's not a marketing expense. And we actually do a supermajority vote and not a simple majority vote. Okay, the second point is, I know you guys are pretty smart. So I'm sure you've read the numbers that the Brightline project is a $45 million project, right? Not a $75 million project. You can do math, right? It's 45 million. And it's between a 75 and a 9,000 square foot. So that's, 0.2 of an acre. But what did they put up on their slide? They're looking for 75 million. So by their presentation that they did, and they were very transparent about this is a mixed use development. This is for hotel, for restaurants, for housing, et cetera, et cetera. We're not funding, what they're asking here is not for funding Brightline. It's for Brightline plus all these other businesses. Okay, last thing I checked, we believed as fiscal conservatives in free market, right? Now, one last point I want to bring to you guys is I've been here. This is my 6th year. I've seen the Brightline lobbyists come here many times, okay? And I think it's about time that if you're going to give public money, you negotiate a better deal for Brevard, because as D3 Commissioner brought up before, in 18 years, we're going to be burdened with, and I think he mentioned 7 stations in Grand Vicaria, 7 crossovers. We're going to have a lot of fiscal responsibility to maintain those. I think you guys have a fiduciary responsibility to the people. And I'll just mention, I looked up what it costs for the Boca Raton station that they talk about, 16 million. So maybe it's a really good idea to verify numbers before you start handing out millions of dollars of taxpayer money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yvonne Minus.
Mr. Chair and County Commissioners, good evening. I thank you for allowing me to speak on such an important item. I am very excited about the Brightline having a stop in Cocoa. However, living in Melbourne, I would have had or chosen for that to be a stop in Melbourne. But nonetheless, the stop will be in Brevard County, and that is what's very important. I am in favor and hope you agree that the tourist development tax will be allocated for Brightline in Brevard County. During the back-to-back tragic accidents that happened in our district, in my district, or better yet, the district that I represent, I cannot say how Brightline, in my opinion, bent over backwards, meeting with the mayor, several staff members, and myself, including our city manager, to aggressively put in measures to prevent any further accidents and fatalities. Now we add that if it is the will of someone to take those drastic measures, then nothing in the world can prevent that accident from happening. Brightline has kept our city abreast of the immediate stopgap safety and preventive measures and are still going on at each of our crossings and throughout our city. Given in the fact that the TDT already has allocated $5 million or have $5 million available, these funds are not coming from our property tax or any specialty tax, which is a very good thing, being conservative and making sure that our funds are in good shape. Being a member and the vice chair of the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization, we have allocated, and you've heard before, $15.5 million in federal funding to help with this much needed and worthy, very worthy project. I hope that you will agree with me and vote yes for the $5 million coming from the tourist development tax. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay, that ends our cards. If I had a card. Mayor, sorry. Yeah, I don't either, but come on up. We do this to you every time. We try to hide you back there, Mayor, and just don't want to talk to you. This is Mayor Cocoa Beach. Mayor Keith, welcome.
Appreciate it. I just want to say I too was a little upset not seeing a stop in Cocoa. So I think this is a great project. It's absolutely a tourist-driven project, and it's absolutely a capital project. So I think having it allocated out of the TDC capital fund is fully worthy of that. My concern is if it doesn't pass this vote because you need a 4-1, that it might get pushed off to the marketing budget. And my concern there too is you guys have already indicated that you were not sure if you even had 1.5 million to put towards lifeguards. So I don't want to take even more away from that, considering we will not be contributing to lifeguards. So we want to make sure that the TDC will be able to fund that. Like I said, I think it's a great project. It's going to help with tourism. More importantly for me, it's going to help with residents being able to, the roads between the different locations like the airport without having more traffic. So that's one of the things that I would like to see. Also, for locals trying to travel to international Miami airport, it'll aid in that. So I hope that you guys do something with it. I just hope that you keep it in the right funding allocation. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Okay, I believe we're finished with the cards now. If I could, I would like to go ahead and turn the chair. Oh, you want to? Absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chair. Appreciate it. I just a fun, interesting thing. Miss Julie, I think you're Canadian because pissed is a Canadian word. And there's not too many of us use it, so I'm with you on that one. I remember back when we started working on the Bright Line, actually it was the term before I came on, they had to work through the hard stuff of the train, trying to get the tracks down. And everybody was so mad about a train coming, but everybody's so in favor of a stop. And as pissed as they were about the train, everybody wanted a stop. And I can relate with that because I'm thinking once it gets in, I'm going to hop on it and run over to Tampa and go shopping. My husband's there, but it's just those types of opportunities for us. That's a good thing for Brevard County to get a stop after we've had to endure all the changes with the track coming through and Cocoa and Canaveral Groves, all the things they've been so patient with dealing with, and hopefully we'll get those other things worked out. Brightline's been pretty good about helping work out some things we might need to work on this one lady's issue. I also want to just mention how hard Miss Georgiana Gillette's worked with this process. She's been a real hero in it, and her amount of work of trying to get all of the things lined up with the multimodal, pretty impressive. And it's so much fun seeing all the public servants here tonight. It's like almost a fun little homecoming. Matt and I served at City of Titusville in the very beginning years. We both got in on this together, and I think Fisher was the commissioner then, and it was just a fun process of working on this because we had been through such a crisis as a county and a community. And I don't know if, yeah, you guys are old enough, but everybody was moving out of here because there wasn't any jobs. There's 1 out of 3 houses in foreclosure. And I got involved because my children left the area with my grandbabies, and I wanted to come and help and make sure we had jobs in place so that when the next economic leveling comes, and there's one coming, there's going to be, as sure as I'm sitting here, I've been watching it, and with the economy, you'll have the ups and downs. We're at a peak right now, and something's going to come soon to make an adjustment. And anytime we can do something that will insulate Brevard County from ever to going through that much pain again, because we got hit so hard with the space program and the housing crisis and the banking mess. And so anytime we've got something like this, that's a diversity situation as far as Brightline coming, once they come, they're not going to leave. And it is going to bring a real uptick in our economy. Coco, you guys did so good with this today. And so I think this is such a good project. And you use the word transformational. That was a really good word. I was going to say change the environment, but your word's better. But we had the USSSA come. And I don't know if you guys remember that, but we had this big area with nothing in it. It was going in the hole, and they come up with a great idea of bringing all these kids' sports over. And it was such a controversial item. Everybody was complaining about it. But my goodness, that thing just took off and really helped the economy in Vieira. And then we've had a few other things, Blue Origin, and this has been just such a job trying to get it done. And Commissioner Goodson, I really congratulate you for this, sir, because this is going to be a really good thing to have in your pocket for a great thing you did while you were in service. Yeah, but it's such a good thing. The only thing I wish different, and I think Yvonne said this, I wish it was in District 1, but it's a good area, and I'm just so proud of this. And thank you, sir, for bringing this up at the TDC. It's just a good project. And tourist development, this is tourist development funds. So good job, guys. Thank you.
I think Commissioner Feldner, did you want to speak, or Commissioner Goodson?
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
I'm just going to bring up some things that we all need to be aware of. If we do approve this tonight, the grant would only be used for this. It would be used for nothing else. If it's, and also I want to make sure this doesn't lay there for years. If they don't meet certain milestones for that grant to stay there, it might wish to come back to us for reapplication. Okay. The other things that Coco, I hope get Brightline to agree with. If you know anything about parking revenue, the port gets it. The port gets it. Coco, I had a meeting with Brightline. Brightline said absolutely not. I had a meeting with Coco, and they said, "Oh, we're getting it." So I hope y'all settle on who's getting a share of the parking fee. Because if you take a 400 car parking lot times just 300 days, it's like $4.5 million. Okay. Now they say they need it for operating costs. I'm not sure of that, but that's what they say. I hope you do that. The other thing that's going to be a problem for the city of Cocoa, if they control access into their own parking lot, then how are you going to get your taxis in there, your Uber drivers, and your shuttles? The port fights that all the time. If you know anything, they're put on the back of the line, which upsets taxi cab drivers because they produce revenue by trips. So that's a concern I have, so that's something that you need to work out with Brightline, because if not, you will live in utter chaos and aggravation, and of course, I don't know, the next thing would be rental cars. Are they going to be on their lots or their land and control that? And you don't get a cut of that. You can say all you want to do about property taxes, but the money for Cocoa is in revenue sharing. You can do on off, $1 on, $1 off, just like the port does at that station. So that's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. As you can see, Commissioner Goodson is a great businessman, and all of those comments that he made are absolutely true. And I think the details in the event that we pass this can be worked out very clearly. And I think those are all good things, Commissioner. Thank you for bringing that up. If I could, I would like to go ahead and turn the chair over to you and make a few comments. Thank you very much. I think we all know that we've been working on this for a long time. 5 years ago, oh my God, we're going to get a train station. Oh my God, we're going to get a train station. Yet nothing, nothing, nothing. Tonight, opportunity is knocking at our door. I think of the Field of Dreams every time I think of this. Build it, they will come. There's a lot of subjective information that came out tonight because the data's still not there. But I'll tell you what is there. There's a great train track rolling down the roads with beautiful new trains, and we have the ultimate location in the entire state of Florida for people once they understand that Cocoa and Brevard County, because it's just not Cocoa, this is a county-wide thing that's going to help us all. I've spent a lot of time talking to Morris and how to do this in the event that we could do it correctly. So I'm going to read this as a motion, and I hope my fellow commissioners follow through and second it, and we have some good discussion to get it passed. I move that first that we make the following legislative findings. One of the main purposes of the Cocoa Brightline Station project is the attraction of tourists to Brevard County. 2, the county Brightline Station will be promoted to tourists as a transportation service and a destination venue. 3, the Cocoa Brightline Station is needed to increase tourist-related business activities in counties. 4, an independent professional analysis shows that the station will have significant positive impact on tourist-related business in the county. And we have that. 5, the Tourist Development Council unanimously recommended that we approve this grant. An 8-0 vote. Completely transparent it was. I'm sorry for varying off, and let me go on with the rest of the motion. Second, that we approve a $5 million reimbursable grant to the City of Cocoa for the Brightline Station project. Third, that the source of the grant funds will be from the TDC Capital Facilities Fund 1443. If necessary to administer the grant, the city county manager is offered to transfer $5 million from the TBC Capital Fund 1443 into the TDC Marketing Fund 1441. Finally, authorizing the Tourism Development Department Director to negotiate and sign all necessary capital facilities or marketing grant agreements and related documents upon county attorney, risk management, and purchasing service approved and authority of the county manager to execute all necessary budget charges and requests. That is a motion. It was carefully drafted by our attorneys, and I would hope that we get a second and some discussion.
Second with discussion. Yes, sir. Okay. Morris, did you hear that the grant would be only for building the railroad track? In the motion, I think I heard it, but I want to make sure you heard it.
So I heard that it's going to be for the project that the request is for. So it's going to be not the track itself necessarily, but for the Brightline Station project. Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you hear anywhere that the motion said that if it was there at any length of time and they didn't meet certain milestones, it would revert back to the county?
That was not included in the motion. I will tell you, our typical timeline for capital grants is a groundbreaking within 3 years and completion within 6 years.
Okay. Is that possible, Chair?
If you would like to, I will accept a friendly amendment.
Okay, I'd like to make a friendly amendment that if they don't meet certain milestones, it reverts back to us for them to retry at a later date.
And were those milestones satisfactory 3 years and 6
Yes.
years?
Well, would we not want a bright line? Ask them, is that satisfactory? Please.
Commissioners, that timeline works. I mean, that time, if you think of the timeline with this, the grant application, which would go in at the end of May, would be awarded or decided upon by by 2024. You would spend about 12 months going through environmental approvals, site design, engineering design, and then you have a 24-month construction timeline. So that would work.
Then
Okay.
that's
Is
fine.
there a second to Commissioner Goodson's friendly amendment? My motion, yeah, so,
You want to include that?
yes, I do. I want to include that in the motion. Can we get a second then, or do you want to answer? Okay, I'm talking about the amendment. Hello there, Jason. Get going here, boy. All right.
A quick question. I'm sorry, I was talking when you were talking. So with this change we just made to the motion, it's still very comfortable for Brightline to finish their project. Is that what you said?
Specific to the timeline, yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we've heard from the COCO Director of Economic Development that this would be a transformative, I think was the word used. In fact, it goes on to say in a recent Florida Today article, this would boost residential and commercial development, bring more jobs to COCO, add tax revenue to COCO, create a transportation hub, and develop a 500 space parking lot. These are many of the tenets of what a CRA is supposed to do, and I think there would be some duplication of service here. So to be clear, I've never voted for one of these capital projects. In fact, I'm about ready not to vote no on the guidelines we use to do this, but I greatly appreciate all the work and all the time that you've put into this. And I was challenged by a number of folks to find a yes on this one. So I'll tell you where I am. I don't know if this is going to be a friendly amendment, but it was the commitment that I gave to a number of people to get a yes. And that is very simple. I would vote yes, contingent upon the city of COCO providing an executable ILA sunsetting the COCO Downtown Community Redevelopment Agency in the year 2031 to be voted on prior to the distribution of funds and satisfying Commissioner Goodson's contingencies that he just outlaid there. So that's what would get me a yes. If that's a friendly amendment, you'll have yes. If that's not a friendly amendment, then I unfortunately would have to vote no on this. I'd certainly be more than willing to discuss this, but I've spoken with a number of folks over in COCO, and they've all been receptive, not agreed with, but they've been receptive to having a discussion on that. So I don't know if you're interested in getting the vote, but that's what it would take for me to be a yes on this. I'm more than willing to
Can I-
discuss anything.
Can I ask
Commissioner Feltner?
just a question for clarification? So a year from now, a new board here, could they just, by a simple vote, undo that and continue the lifespan of CRA indefinitely?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Since it would be an interlocal agreement, I think they would have to get buy-in from the city of COCO. But I don't see any reason. I have faith in you, Commissioner Feltner, for passionately supporting the opposite side. But theoretically, the answer to that is yes.
Okay, Stockton, you want to come up here for a second? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Real quick, Mr. Before you start, that might be something we should maybe talk to you about later if we're willing to do that. I'm not going to support doing that tonight with Coco. I don't think I'm not prepared for it either.
Okay.
And I'd have to look at your data, but if you guys would be willing.
I have an idea,
Okay.
and I believe I have this discretion. Morris, tell me if I don't. Do I have the option to be able to poll before our final vote?
You mean ask commissioners individually
Correct.
aloud
Right
where
now,
they
right in
stand?
front of everybody with a poll. This is not the final vote.
You can ask them as long as they verbally announce it out loud. You can't do a secret ballot or anything like that, but if you can ask them to announce where they're at, and if they're willing, that's up to them if they're so inclined.
Okay, I know where Commissioner Tobias stands, but you need to say what you're going to do. You're going to, it's no unless you get what you want with the
Yeah,
CRA.
I'm sorry if I wasn't
All
clear.
right, so
That's
there's
correct.
one no vote. Rita?
I'm agreeing with your motion.
Okay, so there's 2 yay votes. Mr. Feltner,
No.
Mr. Goodson.
Yes.
Okay.
With the amendment.
Yes, sir. All right, well, I'm going to close this out then and end discussion unless there's somebody else that has a question. And all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Carries 3-2. Thank you very much. Is that Miss Sullivan that's saying that? Miss Sullivan, one of these days when you, Miss Sullivan, stop. If you ever did your homework and realized what you'd say is wrong half the time, you'd understand what happened. So that Miss Sullivan, I'm done with you tonight. Good night. Okay, well, that's fine.
You would take a 5-minute break?
Yes, let's take a 5-minute break. getting this done. We got some more stuff that's extremely important tonight. Yeah. If I could see, getting the tears out of my eyes. What's happened to my agenda? Oh, there it is. All right. We need to approve the fiscal 24-25 Tourist Development Council Capital Facility Grant Program application funding guidelines. Peter.
Yes, sir. This is, again, another item from TDC funding program of up to 1.7 million for TDC capital facilities grants. Again, this is the guidelines, application, and score sheet. There were not substantial changes this year over last year.
Okay. No, we have no cards. There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Commissioner Goodson seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Okay. Such a surprise, John. All right. Let's go to the I3, the grant agreement between Brevard County and the Economic Development Commission of Florida Space Coast Incorporated. And County Manager, are you going to handle this, or you just want to call? I know how
any way you want to
exactly.
do it, Commissioner. This is a request for 1 year extension of the expiring agreement that I believe expires in October, beginning of October. And it's a request by the EDC to have the funding restored at the grant amount that had previously existed for a number of years at $1,400,050.
Todd, come on up. Thank you. So not many people can say pokriva.
No.
There you
no,
go.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. I practiced all night long because I knew you're going to be here.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. My name's Todd Pokriva. I'm with the Vieira Company. I'm representing the EDC this evening. I serve on their executive committee of the board of directors. So first and foremost, I want to thank you all for your time this evening and your consideration of this agreement. The EDC values the Commission's commitment to maintaining a robust and sustainable economy for its residents. I'm asking for your continued support by voting for this 1 year agreement with the EDC. Our long-term partnership with the county has fostered the diversification of our economic base and supported the investment and retention of leading high-tech businesses here in our community. The partnership we have is evident in our legislative and Pentagon visits in Washington, D.C., and in our collaborative approach toward economic development success. As a community, we have faced some significant economic challenges, and over time, this has not deterred the EDC one bit. In fact, since October of 2010, we've been successful in attracting projects that amounted to over 8,000 new jobs with capital investments above $1 billion. This includes companies such as Blue Origin, Embraer, Lockheed Martin, and Space Perspective. While these projects are the easiest outcomes to notice, I'd be remiss if I did not address how our program of work extends beyond business development. The EDC works diligently to secure resources benefiting countywide programs, including infrastructure projects. In fact, we secured a notable $3 million towards infrastructure. One example is the $1 million for site preparation secured for the new Emergency Operations Center facility, thereby reducing the burden on the county. Another area of focus is recruitment and retention of talent to support local business. The EDC created a talent asset pipeline program focused on workforce training with increased access to entry-level jobs. Since 2017, we've provided over 800 scholarships totaling more than $800,000 to individuals seeking a career in manufacturing, aviation, and the aerospace industry. Currently, we're addressing a wastewater infrastructure challenge affecting the county, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, and NASA. We secured a $200,000 grant for the completion of a phase 1 study to identify facility upgrade options. We're also closely working with DoD to secure an additional $830,000 toward the next phase of study. These are just a few of the highlights of the EDC's positive impact for your consideration. I want to thank you again on behalf of the EDC for your partnership, your consideration of the agreement this evening, and your investment in the shared vision for our economic future here in Brevard County. I look forward to further successful collaborations with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Todd. You might as well stay right there. Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Commissioner Tobias was first,
Okay.
and then Commissioner Goodson.
Thank you, Mr. Pokriva. And clearly you're wearing a couple hats here, right? As Vieira, upper level management in Vieira, right, as well as the EDC. So I'll start with the Vieira one first, since I think that's the one that you mentioned. Is it correct to say? Is it fair to say you're advocating for us to sign this contract?
Yes, I am supporting the County Commission's positive consideration of this agreement.
Have you read the contract?
I have a copy of the contract.
That wasn't the question. Have you read the 28
Yes.
pages of the contract?
Yes,
Okay.
and I have staff here as well to answer any questions that you
I
may
was
have.
just curious. Would the Vieira company enter into a contract without measurable deliverables?
It depends on the nature of the contract, Commissioner Tobias. There are many, many contracts that we enter into.
That does not have measurable deliverables. You said you read the 28 pages of this.
Yeah.
My question to you is, can you name one measurable deliverable in that contract? I've read it many times.
Right. No,
What is
I'm going
one-
to ask EDC staff to come up.
You said you read it. My
I
question
did.
is, can you
So
name
there's a
one?
program of work that you've been provided that details what the EDC is doing.
Sorry,
Right.
my question is one measurable deliverable, right? That I can measure. There was a success based on a measure, or there was a failure. You said you read it.
Right, right.
Okay, I have it right here. My question, can you cite the one measurable deliverable in this contract? Just one.
So as I said, there is the work plan that is specified as an exhibit to this agreement.
So
That
why don't
includes
you give me the page?
all of the actions. So that is on page 2 of 28. And it refers in section 3B to the specific annualized work plan. And that is attached as exhibit B to the agreement. And this includes all of the objectives and actions as part of that work plan for fiscal year 24-25.
So that would include, and under that, creating and distributing materials and publications. A measurable outcome would be 500,000 pieces of documents given to, X amount of citizens or X amount of businesses come in. I'm just trying to find a measurable. These are all very nebulous. I can't find anything. The only thing measurable in here I can find is what you're asking for, which is the $1.4 million. That's measurable. I can
Right.
I can measure
Right.
the money. I can't measure anything here.
No, and Commissioner Tobias, I would like to ask Trudy from the EDC to join me here at the podium, and perhaps she can provide further detail in further
Well, you're on the
answering your
board, right?
question.
You said you read it.
That's correct. Trudy, would you like to join me, please?
Hi, Commissioner.
How's it going?
so-
I'm sorry. Can you tell us who you are? I'm sorry,
Sure, no
Trudy. I
problem.
apologize.
Trudy McCarthy. I am the Executive Vice President of the Economic Development Commission.
Okay.
So the contract that you're looking at is an exact duplicate of the contract we've been working with the county for the last 10 years. The ask was to extend that by 1 year, enabling the commission to vote.
Well, I'm
and
going to
look
stop you there
forward.
because that's not true. And the reason that's not true is because last year you got 1.2 million, correct?
The
Yes.
amount
And now you're asking for 1.4. So it's not an extension. It's an extension plus a couple $100,000. We'll get there a little bit later, but so it's not a direct extension, correct? It's an extension plus additional revenue.
I appreciate your perspective.
It's not, it's not a perspective. If you want a continuation of the last one, it's at the dollars
Right.
that were
So-
last year.
Okay, so our grant agreement with the county
Okay.
this is the same grant agreement we've been working on for 10 years. The amount funded last year was revised for last year. So the measurables that we provide to the county and to our board of directors is a monthly measurement. And in that, we provide different deliverables and different goals. So
I'm
that is
sorry, but
something.
you're asking for revenue from the county, correct?
Mhm.
So it's wonderful that you give your board that stuff, right? But
And the county and the county manager, that is
okay.
provided to you.
Okay, so you give them a flashy handout that, yeah, but it's wonderful that you do that. I appreciate it, but I'm just trying to measure success here. So can you help me here in the 28-page, hopefully you read it, in the 28-page document, how I can measure, and the fact that it's a copy of what we've done in the past doesn't mean, I haven't voted for these ever. I'm just asking for a measurable deliverable here.
There's not one measurable deliverable. There are plans of actions with objectives.
That's all I was looking for. There is not one measurable deliverable, which is counter to what we heard from Mr. Kriva, who said there were measurable. You
They're
understand why I'm having some concern here?
We have objectives.
And then my follow-up to this, and this would go to Mr. Pakriva here. Why, if it's a copy of last year, we're getting nothing new. Why would we want to move forward with an extra couple $100,000? If you are getting nothing new, you're a business individual, right? If you're getting the same contract, getting the same services, which are nothing, we've just been told, no measurable deliverable. Why should I pay more now for no measurable deliverables? I'm not following that. I understand why you want more money. I get it.
Sure.
But if
Commissioner.
we're not getting anything in return, why would we pay 200,000 more?
So Commissioner Tobias, at the time that the commission considered the funding last year and cut the funding, there was discussion amongst the commissioners that there would be consideration perhaps of restoring full funding when it came back for consideration this year based upon some of the progress and the achievements that the EDC was pursuing, some of which I outlined during my remarks. And those were reviewed with individual commissioners and the county manager's office in meetings leading up to this meeting today.
Okay, so there were no measurable, just to reiterate one more time, I appreciate it, right? There were no measurable deliverables. You didn't meet those because you can't measure them, right? This contract, though much longer, still has no measurable deliverables. Nothing we can say you succeeded here or you failed here, which is fine. But we want $200,000+ more. Is that a fair assessment of this contract? Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, we're asking for restoration of the funding that was in place prior to the action of the county commission.
What extra are county taxpayers getting in this contract that they didn't get in last? I'm asking because I don't see anything in this. In fact, you have a person who works for you saying there's nothing in here. So what, there's not one measurable deliverable before, there's not one measurable deliverable now. What extra are we getting for that $200,000? In fact, I would argue that we're probably going to get less. And let me explain why we're probably going to get less here. And tell me I'm wrong, right? I guess we have a ballot language that may come up here about tax abatements. And that is cited in the contract in a couple different areas that you provide services, namely Section 8 of the contract, this new contract here. That hasn't met this board. The board hasn't voted on this. And even if the board does vote affirmatively, and I don't know whether they will or not, it still has to go to, through ballot referendum, it still has to go to the voters. And the voters may decide they don't want to do that, right? So we may actually be getting less. So my question is, we were getting nothing before, now we're potentially getting less. Why should we be paying more?
So I'd like to propose this to the commission as you're considering this. we do have a request for the restoration of 1.4 million. If you would like to add on deliverables to that request, we can work through that if that is something that the commission would like to consider. I leave that.
Yeah, just a question. What are we getting for the, sorry, what are we getting for the 200,000? That's my question. What new items are we getting for the 200,000? I don't
When-
understand.
Okay, so we took a cut last year. We cut back on some of our services. You'll see that there are a couple of positions that were open that we did not fill this year. So some of those positions are areas we cut. We are looking to restore back to our full funding so that we can be.
I'm
at
not,
full
it's wonderful, right? But I'm concerned about the taxpayers I represent. I'm not concerned about your employees. I understand you probably want to pay them more, goodness
Okay.
gracious, all those wonderful things so they can go on vacation,
Mhm.
go on the train and do all those wonderful things. But what are we getting? It's a question. And the answer I suspect is nothing, right? What extra are we getting for that 200,000? You were honest before. Are we getting anything new? Just name one thing we're getting new for this extra 200,000. I understand you got 200,000 the year before, but this past year, you worked for 1.2 and change for us. Now you're asking for the 1.4. What else for that delta of 200,000? What are we getting? I understand what you're going to do with it. You said you're going to hire more people or give bonuses or whatever the heck you're going to do. But what are taxpayers? What
Okay,
are
Commissioner,
taxpayers?
if you would, please, just at this particular point in time, I think you've made your point, and it's been made several times. They can't answer your question, and, obviously you're going to vote no for this. I would think that would be the thing. I mean, I don't know how many more times you can ask them and not get the answer.
The answer is nothing.
Okay,
But
well,
she hadn't
then-
said, she
then
hadn't
I
said,
guess,
she
I
hadn't
guess
said
we
nothing.
should say touche and move on so that we can
If
get
she-
through
if-
with this unless you have another question. that
No,
it's
all I wanted to hear her say was nothing. She was very honest and she said, we get
Yeah.
no measurable deliverables. I
Okay.
thought we were going to get no, and I didn't want to lead on to that question. So that being said, I appreciate it. And you don't have to say it. The chairman saved you on that one.
I apologize, Commissioner. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful.
No, you're not.
Your
You're
point,
not.
your point was made, I think, very, very clearly.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right, Commissioner Goodson.
Yes. Do you roll over any money at the end of the year, or you just spend it and it's zero?
There was one year where we did roll over some funds that was invested back in the following year. So we
So-
work just to budget accordingly so that we spend the funds year by year.
And you're that good on your budget that at the end of the year, you have zero left.
We have other grant programs that we work with that are leveraged through your funding. So the funds that we expend are broken out into the different grants, and then private investment fills in any extra.
Now, there's a fee for Vera to be in the EDC, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. How much do you raise in the fees that you charge other businesses to be at your table? And I'm sure you're going to tell me this, if you get to be the junior hat player and the main hat player with the ball. So there's different fees, correct?
Correct.
Correct. How much money you raise doing that?
So our current fiscal year budget allows for 840,000.
You raise $840,000. That's
On
good. And of course, I remember one time when you cut out all the small businesses because it was too much aggravation. Is that still true? You have to be of certain statute to be on the board.
That is not true.
So you take a painter that just opened up at $50 fee? That's not true either. So where does your fee start?
We have a nonprofit rate and an individual rate of $750, and then goes up from there.
So $750 I could join if I
If you're
had
an
a
individual
peanut
owner,
stand.
entrepreneur.
I mean, okay, well, I'm glad you went back to that because one time you did. That's all my questions.
Okay, Commissioner Pritchett.
Thank you, sir. Last year, oh, by the way, you're Canadian, aren't you? I thought I'd give an opportunity here for a second, so I get it right now. But the thing that I want to make a comment on is last year we kind of got you for a discount. And let me ask you this: how many people are on your board?
Approximately 160.
Okay, but on your main board, I know Mr. Pakriva is
The
there.
executive committee is approximately 40.
Okay, and just a few of them, what are their occupations? You run a whole area here, and do you still have an astronaut?
We have a diversity of representation. We have service providers. We have accountants, lawyers, real estate agents,
Very
developers.
smart people. How much do they get paid a year to do that?
Nothing. Nothing.
Okay, that's my point. So you've got all these people that donate their time to put this together, to find ways to bring in and increase our economy. And they're not taking salaries. If they did, we couldn't even afford this. So when you look at the amount of money we're investing into this, if we try to do it on our own as a county, we'd pay so much more than this for the opportunity to bring in economic development. And I'm always very strong on the side of it, because again, I said it earlier, I remember being hungry and being in critical conditions where we weren't making it. North Brevard was bad. And so anytime that we can create job creation, I'm in. And as long as you're doing that job and there might be not things you can measure what you're going to do going forward. Well, we can definitely look back in the back and see things that have come because we went ahead and made moves. The Space Force. You know, I got to sit in on some of those meetings when there was that strong working for bringing more of the military presence, and Linda Weatherman was really involved. And I've been up to Washington one time, and thank goodness I have to go again, but we'd walk into a room and all these generals would say, "Hi, Linda. Hi, Linda." I mean, she gets up there and she's just a shaking and a moving. And maybe if Linda wasn't there, I might not support this as much, but you guys don't take a salary. The amount of brains that come together to try to work this for our county is pretty phenomenal. So I don't know if you're going to poll it later or not, but I'm definitely going to be supporting option one with y'all tonight, because you took that hit last year, and it's not that we're giving you more, we're restoring you because we put you on sale last year. So that's the way I'm thinking of it.
Commissioner Pritchett, would you take the chair, please? Thank you very, very much. I serve on the EDC and spend a lot of time there, and I absolutely understand Commissioner Tobias' questioning on deliverables and things of that nature. And candidly, I haven't read the contract either. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But what I have done, and I've done for years now, is I've sat in those discussions when we brought in Brian Holtz, who used to be OneWeb, and started conversations about a new company called Mangata, and started other companies. And what we did for them was we found them the land, we got them in touch with the right people to permit their land, and we got them to the point where they could get conduit financing from Space Florida. And then we went out and helped them get all their permits, which would have been 2 more years of time. Now, would that have been measurable? I don't know that anybody would ever done it or measured it, because we were doing it secretly behind the scenes to get it all done. Oh my gosh. Secretly, yes. We went over and met with the St. John's Water Management District and got a permit that's public record. Oh my God, it's a big secret. Jesus, Sandra. So I want you to understand that when we're there, it is, John, and I really would like to take you to a meeting with me, because when you sit there and the members of the corporations that have employees and the people that are there, that the discussions that go on, I think you'd be very impressed with. And I was impressed with your line of questioning, and I always am, because you do excellent deep work in that. But the truth of the matter is that EDC and Linda Weatherman, without them in this county, would be in big trouble. It would be very, very difficult to get any major company to come back here and do stuff. They might get here and 3 years, 4 years down the line, figure out how to stumble around for a while and figure out how to get this stuff done. But you go to EDC, it gets done a lot quicker. So I'm going to support the motion tonight. And once again, I completely understand Commissioner Tobias' questioning. He's
Am
got
I
some good
still
stuff.
chairing right now?
Yes, I'm going to shut up.
If there's any more outbursts, I'm gonna have somebody escort you out. We've got to do business right now. Ma'am, officer, will you please? We just can't keep doing this. No, but it'll be time for that, but we don't talk out from that area when we're
For
having
who?
conversations. It's just not good atmosphere. Can't get business done.
We haven't got to that part. We haven't got to public comments.
Commissioner Steele, you're welcome to jump back in right
Okay,
now.
thank you. Pardon me? I don't see any other cards on I3. Okay, we're back. Okay, Commissioner Feltner,
Sir?
what is the issue?
So can we let her fill one out and talk?
Who?
Let Sandra.
Sandra's got a card filled out, but it said,
It's
this is,
on this item.
on
It's-
this item.
It's
You-
possible that we don't have it. It's possible
So,
we don't
so
have
what
it.
is the point? You want Sandra to come back
Well,
out and fill out
I
a
wanted
card?
her-
Hold on,
yes,
let me
she-
grab real quick right now. County Attorney, right now, I was trying to let Commissioner Still finish his part. I think if she comes back in for a comment, it might be fine, but we can't have people talking when the commissioner's talking.
I absolutely agree. I think she should be issued a stern warning and let her know that the next time it happens, she'll be removed for so
Okay.
doing.
But right now, so Commissioner Still can finish his conversation. This is all right now. We'll let her come back in.
Absolutely, and he can call the cards when
All
he's
right, well,
ready
that's
before
fine then.
calling the vote.
I'm going to turn this
Commissioner
back to
Feltner,
you now,
thank you.
sir.
Commissioner Pritchett, thank you. Ms. Sullivan, if you come back in and fill out a card, you may come up and speak. And once again, any more outbursts from you in the audiences by yelling or screaming at the dais, we're gonna have you removed. So you may fill out a card and make your comments after. What is your point? You want them to do it now?
No, sir.
Right,
No,
okay.
Just go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I got the chair back. All right, so anyway, I'm finished with my comments, and Commissioner Feltner, do you have any more comments on the EDC?
No, sir, I don't think so.
All right, is there a motion?
Do the card.
Pardon me? Yes, I do want to do my comment card. So you want to talk about this, Senator? Come on up. See, she filled out on this was the wrong card, but that's okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's fine.
Sandra Sullivan, South
Okay.
Patrick Shores.
Yep.
Card
Yes,
for
I did
I3.
fill out a
Okay.
card for this item and I confirmed it with the clerk in the
Okay,
dock.
cool. Thank
Yes,
you.
Trying to
thank you.
find it.
Sandra, it doesn't have to be like this. We can.
No, absolutely. But I saw this moving towards a vote and I wanted just to give you the courtesy that I filled out a
Okay,
card.
we're,
So,
we're good. Thank you.
So of interest of this item in coming here for many years has been a number of companies who, under the EDC, have received abatements only to find out that they did not fulfill their contractual obligations and those abatements were terminated. Those projects didn't work out. Several of them, actually. And so I actually have a proposal to make to the county because I see from our budget workshop that we have considerable fiscal challenges ahead of us. And I think we have some duplication of what the EDC is doing with NBEDS, the North Brevard Economic Development Zone. And Commissioner Tobias, when he campaigned on doing away with NBEDS. What I propose is renaming, and it's related to this, renaming NBEDS to the Brevard Economic Development Zone. And the basis for that is I did a search. I wanted to know how other counties did business if they had a separate entity as an EDC. And this is Fort Lauderdale, and theirs is internal, it's on their county website. One of the advantages of doing that is transparency and accountability. And you also have more in-house control of the direction that you're going in. You already have staff, Troy Post, on staff, full-time employee to doing economic development for the county. And certainly that could be expanded. So you would save $1.4 million, put that into developing those resources in-house, of course, having a board, working with the community, and it would bring more accountability and transparency. I tried going to EDC event and I try to make a reservation to go to one of their things and they didn't want me there. Okay. At least bring it in-house. You have that transparency to the public. So that concludes what I want to say is please consider, given the number of abatements of companies that have not worked out, and that the Brevard, North Brevard Economic Development Zone has been doing a lot of the overlap of what is in their work plan for the EDC. There's a duplication here that we don't need to have, and we don't need to pay twice as taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Was there any more cards that we missed? Okay. Is there a motion on the floor? There's a motion on the floor. A motion to a floor. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Feltner.
Option one motion.
Option one motion.
1 year extension, then you guys can renegotiate next year.
Did you second, Commissioner?
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Okay, carries 3-2. All right, thank you so much. Let's go to item I4. The, who wants to handle this one? Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I go with this?
Yes, you can, please.
Okay, I brought this to the board November 2019. It did not pass. We've got a new board here, so I'll go over this pretty quickly. If you're against it, that's fine. I was just recycling here towards the end of my term. So let me tell you what this policy would do. This is a sign policy that allows commissioners to put their name all over signs. So what this would do is apply to signs and equipment for signs related to construction projects that use county funds. This would include road signs as well as park renovations. It would also include joint projects with municipalities when county funds are used. Let me tell you what it would not do. It would not stop the signs from being put up with project information or contact information for the department responsible for the project. It would not apply to wayfinding or directional signs. In other words, this way to Commissioner Tobias' office. And it would not apply to signs already created. So the reason for this change, one single commissioner is not solely responsible for all of these projects, whether it be for construction or renovation. I just think it's doesn't send the best message when we throw our names up on construction projects as if we're responsible for footing the bill for all this. We're put in here for, as placeholders for the next person, and our names probably don't deserve to be on those signs. So anyway, it's just a change from sign policies. Again, I think this is good policy, but if you guys don't agree, I will quickly demur on this one.
I agree. Is there a motion to
Ask a
accept?
question
Yes.
of Commissioner Tobias. Does this apply to constitutional offices?
I'm going to punt that one over because my thought would be they would not be joining us on these road construction projects, but there may be a
I don't know if the sheriff has something out there. I'm just asking for clarification.
On the face of the policy, the way it's drafted, it would apply to any signs for which county funds are expended, meaning signs in the way of related to a county construction project. Broadly construed, conceivably that could relate to a construction project of a county officer since they receive county funds, although I believe it's intended here to mean county in the form of Board of County Commissioners projects.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
Well,
Commissioner Feldman.
I'm reading here on 2B, for the purposes of the policy, elected official shall mean each person elected to a county office, municipal office, school board office, or other, does not include state or federal elected officials. So Commissioner Tobias, I'm happy to go with you here. I think we should just not just make a point that it doesn't include the constitutional offices. That'd be my suggestion.
You want to make an amendment?
We accept that as a
That
friendly
would be a
amendment.
that would be a friendly amendment.
All right,
Correct.
fine. Then
You okay with that? Good?
That's the friendly amendment.
You're good. All right. There's no other questions on this?
I move to adopt the attached policy relating to the prohibition of district designation or elected officials' names on the signs and equipment as presented in the agenda packet with a friendly amendment provided by Commissioner Feltner, limiting it to county commission officers.
All right, I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Goodson, you want to handle this one? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, sir.
This amendment would just allow people to talk. They wouldn't have to sit here all night and wait like Toby over there. You know, that would let him talk first, and that's all. It simply does that.
Okay. There's some cards out there. Saunders Sullivan, do you have a card on this one? Okay. Katie, you hadn't heard from you all night, sitting over there very quietly, being such a nice, good girl. Good evening, Katie. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Thank you. Good.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Katie Delaney, and I just want to thank Commissioner Goodson for bringing forward this change to the public comment policy. I understand that the county manager talked about how this would be used as like an overflow, as far as, at least that's what I read in the documents, that 30 minutes up front, and the second comment would be used as more of an overflow. My hope and suggestion is that we could get to the point where we're extremely citizen friendly and we open it up to both public comments for anybody to speak under. And since I have some more time, I'd like to speak on the, even though we're not making changes on it, the consent portion. I would love to see on the consent agenda the amount of money for each consent item to be on the page.
Katie, I apologize, but that's off the subject matter of this agenda item.
Okay, no problem. Again, I'd just like to thank Commissioner Goodson for this change. We're going in the right direction. So thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions or discussion from the board? Commissioner?
No, I was turning off.
Okay, we done?
I have a question for the sponsor, Mr. Chair.
Why would I
Yes, sir, go ahead. You two go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Doors are open.
Mr. Goodson, on March 21st, 2023, the board unanimously voted to pass Resolution BCC 97, removing the second public comment portion of the agenda and removing the time limit on the first portion. In fact, Mr. Goodson, you made the motion for this.
I'm seconded. I think Rita made the motion.
You made the motion to approve it.
Okay.
It was on consent.
Okay.
But you made the motion, went back and watched. So my question, Mr. Goodson,
Good.
if you voted to approve the
Right.
changes at the 3/21 meeting and now we are reversing course,
Correct.
how do we know that we will not reverse course again if something changes?
Well, we can only hope we won't reverse course because you'll be either elected somewhere else or leaving somewhere else. But I was new on the board at the time. Okay. I didn't realize that this was that big of a thing for the public. If we're going to restrict the public, why don't we just restrict them totally and not, not allow them to talk at all?
Yeah, I don't want to restrict anyone. Let me be very, very clear. None of this is restricting. Absolutely. Everyone is given the 3 minutes of public. It's where that 3 minutes comes. There's no
Right.
restriction.
Okay.
To be very clear, there's not 1 second of restriction of time.
But you're going to make somebody sit here for 3 hours to talk on something? Is that what you're going to do?
Mr. Chair?
that's
No,
what
I
you're
would
doing.
never make anyone sit out there. I wouldn't make my parents sit out there for any
So
period
you'd
of
rather
time.
them not come, correct?
I did not say that either.
Well,
Absolutely.
that's
did
what
not.
you're
So
implying.
here's my question.
Yep,
There are people out here that sometimes bring representation. They bring their attorneys here for a number of, and they're paying their attorneys. I don't know what an attorney, you probably use attorneys more than me, hundreds of dollars an hour. So my question is, if we put public comment ahead of that time, their attorney, while they're sitting out there in that chair, is billing, I imagine. Is that a fair assessment? So it literally could cost hundreds of dollars for people that went through a long process, are on the agenda, but now have to wait for public comment that precedes that. If it's at the end, then they don't have to go through that extra time paying those attorneys' costs.
That is, if you're coming here with an attorney, you have a reason to try to get something. Would you not agree? Or get something swayed? Because you wouldn't pay $300 an hour for him to sit out there. But you're going to make a citizen sit out there and not have the ability to talk first, then go home? If that's your choice, hey, I hear you. It's not mine. I
It
made a
wa-
mistake.
But it was your choice on,
It
again,
was,
on
and
March
I made
21st.
a mistake. I
Okay.
said I made a mistake
We're-
and
we're-
thought it was going to save money, but it's evident it didn't, because you didn't even want to save money to have the planning and zoning meeting before the regular meeting. So whatever you wish to do on this, so be it. If you've got the votes to kill it, so be it. And that's it. But I'm just trying to help these people be able to talk, because they're not, given the opportunity. And if it's anything I believe, maybe I'm just kind of strange, but government is by the people and for the people. Okay. And so I'll be more cautious.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, where are we? Have a motion and a second? No, I'm asking for a motion and a second.
I'm second, and then make the motion.
Wait,
And I'll vote for John.
It's a quick comment. Commissioner Goodson, I understand your thoughts on that. I think when I did this, we were going through a lot of, do I have your attention? We're good?
I hear
Okay.
you.
A lot of abuse happening with people using it out there in network, to where something happened when I was chairing. That all got taken care of because I'm not chairing anymore. And Commissioner Tobias jumped in and did that thing as well to take care of that. Because there's some things we can't control. As far as hearing the public, I agree. I always want to hear the public. But even tonight, we had like 17 different opportunities for public comment for the things that we have to deal with. So I don't know that bringing it back to the beginning will make a lot of difference, except for the sweet little lady sitting out here tonight. We usually never go this long on meetings either. But I think is also, I don't know her, but if she would have called me in my district, I probably would have done anything you need me to do for you. You're such a nice person, but the ones that come and abuse us continually, it makes it a little bit tough at that time too. So if you want to compromise, maybe move it back to before board reports. If you think that'd be a little better to cut back on time after we just get rid of the agenda that we have to go over that's already on the agenda, that everybody comes prepared to do. But that's just a thought I had for a little compromise.
Okay. Chair?
yes, sir.
Does it really matter if it's before board reports or before the meeting? It's the same time, giving people the opportunity. Now, all that being said, I hear you. I have not felt any hostilities. Maybe I'm just lucky. I'm sure you did. I remember the comments and all that. But, we're elected to serve the people. We're not elected to say you can't talk. And, you putting the time, and of course, granted, if it fails, it fails, and they'll be at the dead end. And I hope there's quite a few that come and can stand it till the dead end. But that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Could I ask
Commissioner
one
Feldner?
quick question? Would you split it 15 minutes? So we take the first 5 cards. Who would want to speak on the first public comment, and then the rest go to the second comment? Is that something anybody would be?
Let me
I'm
just-
asking you if you'd be amenable to that.
Let
just
me just
discussing
make
it.
a comment on this, because let me just set up a scenario for you, because here we go. We have agenda items in the back of the meeting. If we set up public comment in the front, they could be up here talking about the agenda items that's going to be in the back, and then afterwards talking, filling out a card for the agenda item too. So now you got them talking twice, not that that's bad, but now you have twice as much time being spent on stuff, and it just is going to make the confusion. You're not going to have a smooth meeting. I'm going to do whatever y'all want to on this, but
Could I clarify
absolutely.
something, Mr. Chairman? I think it specifically says that they wouldn't be able to speak at both public comment periods. So they would have to pick one or the other.
But they
So-
could make a public comment and then go in and make a comment on the agenda item. So
They can do that now. They can speak on the agenda
yeah,
item
but
and
they
they can
wouldn't,
speak at
they
the
wouldn't
end of
be,
the meeting.
they would, here's what the problem is. When you speak in the beginning, you are lobbying for what's going to be coming on later on. It's not functional.
Do you want to read that?
Yes, sir. I think it's dysfunctional quite a bit.
We have problems anyway,
Okay.
but anyway,
We have to do
let it
public
lie
comment
where it
first.
lies.
All right.
okay?
Morris, do you have a comment, sir?
Yes, sir. If I may, just for clarity, the public comment section, it's specifically prohibited for someone in that section to speak to an item that's on the agenda elsewhere. So if you want to speak to an item on the agenda, you have to speak during that item. Public comment is for items that are not on the agenda only.
You know,
Okay.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes, these motions get kind of carried away. I was just trying to make it that much easier for people that we represent to speak before us on issues. That's all. But if it's going to be a burn and it won't fly, or I can't get a second, it dies. But it will die because of you people not allowing the public to talk.
All right. Is there no second to this? Hearing no second to motion.
Wait, hold on just a second. Commissioner Goodson, I'm not real sure that's a fair analogy. I probably don't mind one way or the other if you want to do this.
Well, then
If-
second the motion.
Well, let me finish my conversation, because when you say that, we know, I serve with 4 other really awesome people here, and they don't have that intent. But from the things we were trying to deal with at the time, and I almost think I will second that, as long as we do another one, adding to that the public does not come up here and campaign. If we make it a campaign-free zone, then that might help alleviate a lot of the problems we could have too at public comment.
That would be a friendly amendment.
Could I say something on that issue? I think that's well-intentioned, but I don't know how you police that at all.
We did at City of Titusville. We had a campaign-free zone. People could not come up, so they're running for office, and we didn't have to mess with any of the campaign stuff.
Okay, I don't see that being workable.
Maybe we can bring this back then, check with
Okay.
legal. So,
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Goodson
Yep.
that I believe has been seconded by Commissioner Pritchett. Is that
Correct.
accurate?
With it.
Not yet?
No. Yeah, I agree with yours. I would more than welcome that, because I don't want to see somebody campaign up there.
do we want to talk with the county attorney, make sure that we can do it? We did it
I
on
would
City
like
of
to-
Titusville,
I would
so.
like to have his comments on
That's
it.
lawful. You can do that. There's a fairly recent federal court case upholding a similar prohibition, I believe, in Daytona Beach.
Okay, Commissioner Gibson, I also like what Commissioner Feltner threw out, that we divide it up in 2 and just have a certain amount, and then we take the rest to the end.
15 minutes would be 5 comment cards.
Right.
So somebody who
That-
does
that-
want to come in and talk
Yeah.
and get it out of the way and go home,
We did
I
that before I
appreciate
changed
that.
it.
I
Right.
do.
Okay.
Then the others out at the end.
I'll accept that.
All right.
We might as well stir this thing up really good, because really, I think it would be better if we let this go into effect on November 5th of 2024. So you two guys can do whatever you want.
Well, that's,
We'll have that option then.
yeah, anyway.
Pardon me?
We'll have that option then, with
This
due
is true.
respect.
It's only a few months away.
No, let's
all
don't
right,
wait
so-
that long. I don't like that, Jason, or Chair.
Can
Okay.
we just clarify the motion?
I would like to hear the motion.
Again, so
Okay.
Commissioner Goodson, you'll set my friendly
The
amendment.
motion, it would be to allow the public to speak at the beginning, 15 minutes, 5 cards, correct? With the understanding that they cannot politic at the diocese here, right? Is that correct? And that's pretty much it.
All right, sir. In good faith, I'll second that.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I've got a follow-up to that. Another motion, if you
Go
would. It
ahead.
doesn't cancel out that one. I want to thank Commissioner Goodson for being such a stalwart for public engagement and citizen input. Clearly, we just saw that today. He's changed his mind on everything else, but he's spoken very clearly on this. And at the 4-9 meeting, Commissioner Goodson made the following motion. He said, quote, "Motion to see if the board would consider meeting with Speak Up Brevard to see if we can have some sort of a agreement so that every time we have a meeting, they don't try to cut our throats." Surprisingly, supporters of Speak Up Brevard like this idea, despite the shenanigans of it not being on the agenda. I believe the board was, including myself, I'm saying I was wrong here, Commissioner Goodson. So I believe the board was too quick to throw out your motion. So after some additional consideration, I believe this proposal may have quite a bit of merit. So I have this motion. I move to create 2 publicly advertised and recorded meetings, one in July and one in October, to be held in the commission chambers during business hours for a minimum of 1 hour in duration for the purpose of discussing Speak Up Brevard recommendations and other related citizen concerns, and designate Commissioner Goodson the responsibility entirely for scheduling and conducting the meeting, and to have Commissioner Goodson report back to the rest of the board via board reports. That is the motion.
Chair, I
Yes,
think
sir.
that's so sweet of you, John. I would offer a friendly amendment.
Okay, we're gonna stop right now,
Right, that is
okay?
so sweet
Just
of you.
hold it, stop. All right, I understand what's going on here. First of all, I'm gonna call Commissioner
mess.
Tobias' motion out of order because it needs to be an agenda item even if it was. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we've had enough tonight, okay, with this. So I'm going to go on and move on to the next agenda item. I know we're all getting a little punch drunk, but this is done. All right, so where are we now? I-6. Board discussion of citizens' request, consideration of legislative intent and permission to advertise amendment, section 621334, agricultural residential AU, and the creation of section of code entitled commercial recreation vehicles, recreation equipment, and trailer storage and such and such. Is anybody from on that issue here? Okay. Tony, how are you?
Very good, sir. Nice to see you.
All right, young lady, please.
Kelly Hyvonen, Land Development Strategies. I'm a planning consultant. I am just so excited to follow everything that has just happened tonight. So I know everyone wants to get out of here. So I appreciate you hearing us tonight. Would you like me to present the request?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Wait a second, Billy? Or Jeff? Billy. Hello, my brain's not working.
Mr. Chair, did you
Or
want,
Tad, who wants to present this?
did you
over
want
there?
us to give you a little bit of background?
Yes,
from a
I
staff
would. I'm
standpoint?
sorry. I
Okay.
apologize.
Absolutely.
All right.
This
So-
meeting's getting a little crazy.
So
So
as you-
I apologize, Tad.
No, sir, I understand. It's been a tough meeting. This evening, this request is a citizen's request for the board to consider legislative intent and permission to advertise amendments to section 621334, which is agricultural residential AU and agricultural residential AU light, to allow for the outdoor storage of commercial and recreational vehicles, recreational equipment, trailers as a conditional use. Should the board grant this request, then staff would initiate the legislative process in amending the code. This includes the ordinance being reviewed by the Building Construction Advisory Committee and the local planning agency. Then staff would bring the amendments and the advisory board's recommendation forward to the board for your consideration. In addition to the analysis we attached to the agenda report, staff would offer the following to aid the board with their decision. Currently, RV and boat storage is allowed in the retail, warehousing, and wholesale commercial BU2 zoning classifications and industrial classifications. Changing this code would potentially allow the use to occur on 7,389 properties. This equates to 5,123 properties in District 1, 1,029 properties in District 2, 211 properties in District 3, 164 properties in District 4, 556 properties in District 5. If you presume that each of these 389 properties abut 3 other parcels, you would be affecting potentially 22,000 properties in Brevard County with this amendment. There's one active code enforcement case for RV and boat storage on AU property. The requester is also proposing several conditions as part of the amendment to be considered with the conditional use. And of course, I'll let Ms. Havonen present those to the board. If you have any questions of us, we're happy to answer.
One more time, what was the number that it would affect, the total number?
So if it would allow, if the board were to consider the change, it would allow 7,000, it would allow the use to occur on 7,389 properties potentially.
Okay, you're up.
Thank you. And do you have a copy of the proposed language
Yes,
in front of you?
not in front of me, but I've read it.
Okay, would that be okay if I just
Absolutely.
handed out a copy? I did have one question about the number of properties. Does that take into account the regulations that are proposed related to size and previously developed properties, or was that just the total number of properties that were zoned AU?
To direct all your
Oh,
questions
I
to the
apologize.
chair. So
I
They
apologize.
have time to prepare later if you put in questions.
Sure, okay. So what we're looking to do here is 2 things. It would be to add a conditional use in the AU zoning district. I don't intend for this to be for AUL. The way it's written, I believe I put in there is just for the AU zoning. And it's to allow a use called outdoor commercial recreational vehicle, recreational equipment, and trailer storage. And the commercial word there does not mean heavy equipment. It doesn't mean people's work vehicles. Commercial just essentially means for non-residential uses, along with a slew of proposed regulations. And when I was looking through adding in this use in the AU zoning district, I looked back at other uses that are already allowed in AU today that are the same or higher intensity. So what we're asking for is lower intensity than many of the uses that are already allowed. So for example, we have, let's see here, landscaping business that's permitted with conditions. There are no conditional use required. It has size requirements. For conditional uses, there's boarding of horses and horses for hire, composting facility, farmer's market that's open to the public, roadside stand that has parking on the property and open to the public, veterinary hospitals, kennels, clinics, and also zoological parks with standards. So what we're proposing along with this is for there to be a couple standards with the commercial recreational vehicle storage, and that is a minimum size of 5 acres. Principal structure setbacks would be at least 25 feet from all property lines, the same as the principal structure on the site. A 300-foot setback from any right-of-way. No commercial vehicles or heavy equipment allowed. It has to be on a developed property, screened on all sides by an opaque barrier 6 feet in height minimum, and it shall not exceed 50% of the area of the property. So with those regulations, allowing this use would allow for something to happen in AU properties that are of lower intensity that are already allowed. In addition, to get approval for that, you have to get conditional use through Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you.
Okay. We have Keith Capizzi. Have you left? Okay. See, he's answered that very clearly. Yes, I've gone. Okay. John Connolly.
these papers so that everybody can see what we're dealing with? Is that problem? All right, this is John Conley, Brevard County. I'm out of Hill Road, again with Hill Road. This property, we've all gone to farms, small farms. That's what we go to agriculture for. We don't want to live in the city. We don't want to live in with the sidewalks, all that. We're real consistent with our animals and trying to keep it rural. What we're asking for here is not just this property. They're asking for you to look at all the properties in Brevard County. We need to be consistent. This consistency is the state of Florida has this set up, what we have here. Everybody in other counties are set up the same way with zoning. We start taking a higher density and putting in a lower density. We start mixing things together. So we shouldn't have a zoning company or a zoning business in Brevard County at all. We don't have any zoning. If we take high to low and mix them together, we don't keep it. We got a magistrate to deal with this problem. I'm the complainant with the way it's set up. Code enforcement officer does not go out to a property unless they are asked to go out to the property. At that time, they tell the people who has made the complaint, which they typically come down to the person that made the complaint and bitch. That's the way it goes. So what I'm asking here is there's a lot of problems that come with this. One is the building department and the zoning department, along with fire marshals, try to keep an ISO rating, which is insurance ratings. It's low in this county. If we start mixing high with low, they have a tendency to not want to insure you. The insurance companies I've talked to say that if they were to ask if they have a business within an area or a certain area, they won't insure them. So we're maybe dealing with insurance problems here. We're also dealing with toxic chemicals. If we get a fire in this type of situation, everybody downstream is going to pick up all the toxics that are picking up. Everybody gets off a fire truck is going to be packed out with a respirator. Everybody downstream in this fire is going to catch all the toxins come off of this thing. The other problems we got over there is this is a 24-hour business. Wayne Ivy's going to have to get involved. In a situation, what I showed you up there, what we have right now, we're in a residential agricultural area. And all of a sudden, the guy puts up a hedge all the way around, fills the property up, and puts in RVs and motorhomes and boats. And unless somebody complains, we don't pick it up because code enforcement's tied to their chair. I'm willing to stand up and say, this is wrong. We should be consistent with the state of Florida.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, Ron Thompson. Yeah, let's go.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It has been a long day, and this is not making it easier for me or anybody else that lives in the same area. As you know, y'all sat in this very room about 45 days ago and also approved a G1 residential up to B2. Now, you know why? You've said because Minton Road was a commercial carrier, a commercial corridor, and it should have been approved. Well, you approved an AU residential to B2. Now, that's taking it a little bit too far, I thought. But Commissioner Steele, you said you knew the people on Hill Road and you like the back of their hands. If you sat there and approved this today, you don't know Hill Road because most of the properties on Hill Road are AU residential. And we don't need an additional storage unit. Y'all already approved a storage unit right down the road at Hill and Minton for Mr. Cole, EKS Systems. So why do we need more of that? We don't need the invasion of more commercial into our residence. So where is it going to stop? You know, it's no need for this. I understand he likes it. It's a money maker for him. And he's also makes a lot of money. Now he has a zone complaint and he's under orders now to remove it. So why in the world has the commission all of a sudden come involved in selling a zone complaint? I don't know. If you can explain that to me, I'd like to know who brought this forward. Okay, which one of you brought this forward? You're not going to live through 2,000 people that you're affecting, or 7,000 people, when you start changing B2 into agricultural residents. You've already wasted the staff's time to have prepare what you've asked for. Now, why is that? So if you know residential properties, then you don't need this. You don't need the hassle that you're going to get. And you don't need the suit that you're going to get if you approve it, because you're afraid of having a suit brought to you because what you wouldn't approve denied that project last 2 months ago. So there's a lot of people, 7,000 of us, that's going to object to this. So I hope y'all have common sense. Common sense don't need discussions. But when a project like this comes forward, to me, I don't know, and I don't think it's what I call passing the smell test. So good afternoon. Thank you.
All right. Judith Kumin. Last but not least on this subject, Judith.
Good evening. My name is Judith Kumin. I live at 1680 Willard Road, Northwest in Pomblay, which is off of Heald Road. On April 4th, the Heald residents stood before you and protested Mr. Cole Oliver and the West Malabar Properties zoning request from AU to BU2, which you approved. At that April meeting, many residents expressed to the board our concerns for continuing commercial property encroaching into our residential area. Mr. Masoni's property is approximately 4/10 of a mile from the corner of Heald Road and Minton. And in this agenda report dated May 7th, referring to the summary explanation and background that his representative discussed, the property records that I researched showed that Mr. Masoni's property is approximately 5.95 acres, so it meets the minimum property size of 5 acres. However, the aerial view shows that his property is a flag lot, so he is not on a city street or a county road. He is more on his own made street. It looks to be about car width wide off of Heald Road. So, as you know, we all were concerned about traffic. So the review of the CUP as outlined in section 62901 of the Brevard County Code of Ordinance states that the applicant must show the effect the granting of the conditional use permit will have on adjacent and nearby properties, including but not limited to traffic and pedestrian flow and safety, curb cuts, off-street loading and parking, off-street pickup of passengers, odor, glare, and noise, fumes, etc., as well as draining and, of course, the screening that his representative already stated, and the space and economic impact on the nearby properties. In our April meeting, we expressed our concerns about the traffic problem. We also expressed that Heald Road has no sidewalks or curbs. So I ask you, where do the owners of these recreational vehicles plan to offload and park while offloading their trailers, fifth wheels, campers, as well as possible passengers? Will this bring more additional vehicles and people transferring possibly from one vehicle, a camper, they're traveling with other groups of family members into our area? How are you, as our county representatives, protecting the economic impact to my personal property and my home by continuing to vote for zoning changes that continually encroach our residential area with commercial business? If approved, who and what stops Mr. Masoni from storing something other than recreational vehicles? I myself do not consider him a good neighbor of Heald residents. This change once again opens the doors for others to submit applications to the county and cities for continual zoning changes. Are we going to what, sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay. You want to take the chair for a second?
Yeah.
Please.
My light on.
Okay. Would you like to say something? Yes. Go ahead, Commissioner Pritchett.
I'm a female. What do you think?
I
I want to say
think that
something.
you are a lovely lady.
You're so kind. If you guys proceed with this, I'd like to, I don't know if we can do this. We did this on something before, carve out District 1, because this would be a catastrophe for District 1. With the land that we have up there and it wouldn't fit for District 1 at all.
If you let
So-
me make a motion, I promise you this will all go
Okay,
away.
you got it, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I have, first of all, Tony Massone is a very good friend of mine. I've known Tony for a long, long time. Unfortunately, no matter how good a friend he is, it's not going to move me in a position to make a motion that will affect 7,000 properties in this county. So as much as I like you, Tony, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to move to deny. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Okay, so let's go to public comment. Pardon me? Or board reports. Okay, you want to do public comments? Tom won't be happy that way. Anita Graham. Ingram.
I appreciate so much your patience in, because this is a very short and simple thing that I've got. But so that should be some consolation. It's short and simple. I have a Facebook group that advocates for the Vieira wetlands. So this is about the Vieira wetlands. This is real simple tonight. I was told this was the way to go about this. We want to implement a no pet policy. And I was asked by my commissioner and the assistant county attorney to bring this before the board so everybody could weigh in. So whether we need to make a vote or put it on an agenda, I have a mountain of source material that if you want to consider all the evidence that I presented to them in a meeting, I can give you that. But that's basically it. We want a no pet policy at the Vieira wetlands. It's consistent with other public lands that the county has, where they allow the public, and they already have the ordinance, and they already have the same setting and everything. So it just makes sense to me to roll that policy into what we need to for the Vieira wetlands. I can certainly go into more rationale, but I'm not sure how this all works. So what else do I need to do to get a vote on it?
Well, unfortunately, this is just public comment time, and that's where you tell us
Okay.
how you think, but we really don't answer your questions.
Okay, well, I'll rattle on for a little bit longer then.
We got a minute, 9 seconds,
Okay.
so rattle on.
In my opinion, it's only a matter of time before the wetlands will encounter an incident requiring it to be permanently closed to the public if preventative actions are not taken now. So that's one of the preventative actions. Adding a pet policy. So since cars are no longer with us, dogs and children have nowhere to be safely stowed if desired. So now we have little tiny kids and domesticated pets underfoot. Since we do not have cars, the people, kids, and dogs are all out wandering in the roads together, extremely close to the wildlife in many cases. So I believe it's time to make a determination to synchronize with our other county wildlife habitat pet policies. It's dangerous for many reasons, which the county has already detailed for other lands. Right now, we allow pets on leash, but unfortunately, there are many who refuse to abide by that. Some use the leashes that extend out many feet and allow pets to go down by the water where there are alligators, and pets are an unnecessary risk that there's no need to have in that area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Charles, is it Torby or Toby? Toby, all right. Haven't seen you in a while, young man.
Charles Tobey, Tobey. Brevard County, I have no address, and this is why I'm up here. I don't know where, I have nowhere to go. I have nothing, and my property is my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I wanted to fix the house, and people that are homeless, living in the bushes, I'm sure would love to have a house and a place to stay. And after I fix the house, I want to donate it to some needy family somewhere. And we have plans of a multi-use building. And we've always had these plans, and I have everything to do the house. It's not my fault that I got hit on my bike in 2013. I got hit on my bike. Guy messed me up after I've had other accidents. I've been recovering. I'm still recovering. Some days I'm in great pain and people want to address me and I'm rude to them, but I try and be nice and ask them to leave me alone, but it's consistent and they just won't stop, and I have to express myself accordingly. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I have nothing. I can't do nothing. And the other thing was I'm a little bit behind because of the critters took these keys for a month. They were missing, and I found them way out in someplace I never go. My wallet, my driver's license, I found that in the bushes, someplace I never go. And there's my money's several $100s. It's all gone. And every day there's a problem with the raccoons. And right now I'm doing everybody around me and my neighbors a favor by managing the problem. And they're tearing down my house. So I don't need to get a permit to tear it down. I'll just let the raccoons continue. And then y'all will be satisfied and I won't have to pull a permit. But this has been an ongoing thing because of the development, the problem with the wildlife and no place to go for them and no place to go for me. The birds have a nest, foxes have holes. I have no place to lay my head. And why? Because I didn't fix the house in time, because my lawyer took 9 years to settle for me to get any kind of reimbursement of my medical funds. So I had a choice, buy the stuff for the house to fix it or pay my lien. I can't do both. And I have investors. They met me halfway. I have the other half. All my money's tied up in fixing a house. Thank you.
Saunders Sullivan.
Okay, so I just wanted to come and Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores, and talk about this land swap. Reading documents on the investigation, it was appraised at $3.5 million for the Sarno property without the CUP. So I'm kind of concerned about the county losing this particular piece of property and the uses that you've had. So a statement was made by the District 4 Commissioner that this land hasn't been used in 20 years. I just want to correct that. So in 2023, it was used for hurricane debris. I'm just wondering whether the county has an alternate place to put hurricane debris when we have the hurricanes. The second one is it was used for a number of years as a DMA site. And so that brings us back. So that was used for O'Galley. And So this, from the permits, is this is O'Galley here. This is the pipeline that's going to go down to BV 52, as you recall, and that's going down 8.1 miles. What is the added cost of transporting muck over 8 miles when immediately across the river is the Sarno property up the river? And see, 8.1 miles. So I find it kind of interesting too that in addition, the same night that you guys took your boat, the same night, they voted to double the height of the Florida recyclers on the adjacent property. It's like, in 2022, you guys wanted to double the height. You wanted to increase that height, and the city wouldn't do it, but they're doing it now. So all this, doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. The property you want to swap with was purchased for $420,000. You paid over $7 million. They're not apples to apples. The appraisal was, as I mentioned, was $3.5 million without the CUP. So, this is a little AI generated artwork. As you can see, it's a Renaissance fair next to a dump. It's kind of entertaining. But the bottom line is, I'd like to know, and I think there's a fiduciary responsibility when this comes to the county, to put out what are we costing the county to ship muck when there's one much closer, and the other one, where are we going to put hurricane debris, and what's that going to cost the county by losing the site? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Neil, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce your last name, but come on up. Oh, yeah, there you go. Thank you very much. Okay, we still got your card, so after the doctor's up, you'll come up, okay? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the honor of being able to address you all today. I'm here as a citizen. I'm here as a husband, and a father today for you to say that my neighborhood, my home life, it's all essentially being destroyed. And we need the help of our local government to help fix what's going on in our neck of the woods, in our community. I'm way up there on A1A near the state park, near Sebastian River Park. I think we're kind of no one kind of knows we're there, but we have some real problems there. And essentially, I moved into my home there in October. The first day I moved into my house, I had the police out for problems. This morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning, I had the police at my house again. I probably called the police 50 times to my house in 8 months, okay? I've been burglarized, vandalized, harassed continually. My children have been harassed. My wife has been harassed. And my neighbors are harassed. Everyone in the neighborhood has had enough of it. We've met with Commissioner Tobias. I've met with other politicians in the community. Our community needs help. Simply put, there's a public access near our home, and that little access road, which is designed to maybe handle 3 cars, is probably handling 100 cars a day. And it's not one day, it's every day of the week, 24 hours a day. That place is rolling, okay? It's rolling with who knows what's going in there. But one of the biggest problems that we've got there is fishing rolling through there. I sent you a slide. They park illegally. The place is not set up to handle the cars. They're parked on conservation land. They're destroying conservation land. But the biggest problem is this fishing going on. This is the scene. You can see the slide. I have that in front of my home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 9 months straight. When I take my daughter outside and I say, hey, we want to go on the beach too, we're met with profanity, abuse, threats. Every single time it ends with me having to call the police. And the general course of action that I've gotten from everyone I've talked to is, well, you need to just keep calling law enforcement. We need an actual plan there. We need help. There's shark fishing, there's trespassing, there's vandalisms. There's no toilets there. So they come into my yard to defecate and urinate all day long and threaten me and threaten my wife. If I go out to them and I say, hey guys, this has to stop, they'll threaten me to my face. And these are not good guys. They're often drunk, they're often high. It's not a good scene out there. It's not a scene for any homeowner. We put up no trespassing signs. Within a day, they were ripped down and vandalized. Right down the street from my house, if you go down the street from my house, about 2 miles down, you're in Indian River County. In Indian River County, you can't smoke on the beach. It's non-smoking even. You can't have pets, you can't have glass, you can't have fishing, boating, no surfing, no alcohol, nothing. Why is it that in that county, they have rights, and in my own home, I can't even sit in my home? It's crazy what's going on there. We need help. That's why I'm here. I'm begging someone in our government to step up and help us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Sure. Katie Delaney. I have no idea. Hi, Katie.
Hi there. Good evening again. My name is Katie Delaney, and I'd like to start out by saying a quote. Any restriction of freedom of speech is a restriction upon democracy. And I say that because maybe the public wouldn't keep coming and being harsh, Ms. Pritchett, if people felt heard, if people felt like we were being listened to, if people felt like our concerns were your concerns. And that goes for everybody, of course. It's not only your jobs, but it's your privilege to serve the public and to be in the roles that you're in. And who cares if somebody wants to speak on a topic 2 times? If they speak on a topic in the beginning of the meeting and it happens to be an agenda item, I understand that that's what the policy says according to the lawyer, but who cares? Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. And if people have taken the time out of their day to come down here and speak to you all, the least you could do is listen to them, especially sitting through a 5-hour meeting. The issues that are going on in the Grand Canal, I want to speak on that a little bit. I went to the Sorrel meeting that they just held, and I have to give props to the staff because they have done a great job staying connected with the people who were at that meeting. There's a rolling email that's going on with questions and answers, and I just had to give a shout out to them because when people get it right, you need to tell them thank you. But one thing I think we need to do better is we need to make sure that we're testing the aerosols that are going on whenever we're muck dredging, regardless of where it is. I see you itching to touch the button.
Yeah.
Can you pause
Chairman?
my time, please?
Yeah.
Pause my time, please.
I'm sorry. We have policies in place, and BCC 97.3 G1 is pretty darn clear, and it states agenda shall provide a section for public comment at the end of every regular county commission meeting following the board reports. The purpose of public comment is to allow individuals to comment on any topic related to county business which is not on the meeting agenda. The muck dredging has been discussed.
Only for the Grand
and-
Canal. I was speaking in general.
Matt, sorry. So you're welcome to do that. I just want to make you aware of a policy that we have in place.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. You've
Thank
got
you.
another 40, 50 seconds, so.
Thank you.
go
I
ahead,
appreciate
Katie.
that. And see, just that right there is my point. At every chance a particular commissioner gets, he shuts down the public. And really, it's a couple. And that's not okay. And that's why people are infuriated. It's why people show up here, 50 people, 100 people show up here because they're infuriated because you're not listening. And you've been up there for 8 years not listening. Good luck. Thank you.
Commissioner Tobias, thank you for the rule thing. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to board reports. County manager,
No report.
county attorney,
No report, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Pritchett.
I wasn't going to, but I figured this was a good night for it. A new article came out in the Washington Post from the National Institute of Health and how bad it is to be an angry person, that it's actually shortening almost 30% of people's lifespans. So people that stay angry all the time about everything, it's going to mess you up. It restricts your blood vessels. Almost takes 40 minutes after your anger for it to release. So the environment we're in with where the nation is, we really need to learn to kind of control that a bit and take a chill pill, because otherwise your family's going to be going on without you later. So that's all I want to do tonight, since we have
Commissioner Goodson.
None. I'm angry.
Commissioner Tobias.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as a vice chair, I'm going to skip over the first couple, but I do want to go to the county employee recognition. This is a little bit more than normal. This is a former employee of mine and someone that I now consider a very dear friend, Billy Prasad out there. He's the Deputy Director of Planning and Development.
Is it today?
We're going to get there. From Tad. Tad said, the work that can be accomplished in 8 hours is amazing. We are very thankful and blessed to have Billy on team planning and development. Billy has been here 7 years, and on a personal note, I know where Billy was 7 years ago. I was interviewing Billy upstairs when I had an office up here. And I remember he came in, quite frankly, a really bad suit. And I remember thinking, really, I can get a board certified attorney for $45,000. What I didn't know is I can get a damn good board certified attorney who's only gotten better for that amount. So let me tell you a little bit about Billy. First and foremost, today is Billy's 40th birthday. Yes, at 8:54 p.m., Billy is away from his lovely wife on his birthday, who I've been informed has fresh crab cakes waiting for him. But he is speeding into old age. He has jump-started as chief of staff until he got a green flag and slipstreamed right into planning and development office. While being a public servant can sometimes be in the pits, Billy is always moving at G-force speeds to get things done and reach the finish line. Fun fact, if you can't tell, Billy is an avid Formula One fan. In fact, one of his favorite memories was watching Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc win the Italian Grand Prix in Monza in Italy in 2019. When he was around 15, Billy zoomed straight through qualifying and won a gold medal in the Junior Olympics in martial arts and has a black belt in 2 different disciplines. Wow. At 16, Billy felt he'd made the pole position when played first chair violinist in the Brevard Symphony Youth Orchestra and didn't suffer lockup when he jammed out with renowned soloist Yo-Yo Ma. Billy loves to race home after work so he can experiment with new cooking techniques, spices, and try out authentic recipes from around the world. He also loves to travel around the world and has visited many states and countries, some of which included turbulent elephant rides in India, getting turbocharged while visiting Chernobyl in Ukraine, becoming engaged near the apex of a volcano in Washington, doing laps while canoeing the glaciers in Alaska, and testing his aerodynamics by paragliding in the Swiss Alps. Billy, you have been a tremendous addition to my office and now to the much larger county. We greatly appreciate your service here, and thank you so much for everything you do and continue to do.
Happy birthday, Billy. All right. Are you finished over there?
Yes.
Commissioner Feltner, you got anything?
I'll say happy birthday, Billy. And I'm sorry for Bethany that we kept you here all night.
Okay, I have no report.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.
Members of my administration, and advocates from around Arkansas and from around the country for joining us here today. Today is our last day of fiscal session. Can't say I'm sad. I'm sure nobody else is either. Yeah, pause for that. And I'm proud to say that with our partners in the legislature, we could